An entitled Karen literally walks up to me while I'm working at a theme park, handed me their baby, and then ran off, disappearing completely into the crowd, forcing me to go on a manhunt just to find these people and get them their kid back. And I've honestly never been more freaked out in my life after they literally forced me to babysit their baby whether I liked it or not. Here's what happened. So this story takes place when I worked at the magical rat theme park back in the day, and I think you know which one I'm talking about if you really think about it. At the time, I was working the quick food services and resorts. I want to preface this by saying that children like me for some reason. They stare at me, they want me to hold them or play with them. In fact, at church, some toddlers find me just to nap on me during service. But honestly, in my 20s, children kind of made me nervous because I didn't know what to do with them, and I doubted I could care for one, which is really wild considering I worked at Magical Rat Planet. However, my interactions with children there were usually short and polite. One day, during an extremely busy lunch period, I was on my way to the cash register when I paused to get by a large group of people. I felt a small tug on my shoulder sleeve, and I looked up to find a chubby baby hand holding it. The baby girl was adorable with big blue eyes and not a lick of hair on her round head. I talked to her sweetly while her mother held her smiling. The baby then reached out for me to hold her, and her mom gushed about how that never happened, how the baby was not usually social and didn't really like other people. And as mentioned above, I was used to this sort of reaction from children. She then told me it was okay to hold her and then moved her closer to me. And at this point, I was in a conundrum as I did not know this child, but obviously interacting with small humans came with the territory. But I also didn't want to seem rude or mean. The baby's little arms were still up, so I said, okay, just for a second. And then I picked her up. And this baby was very chunky and cute. I started talking to the baby, who was just very comfortable on my hip. But when I looked up, her mom, dad, and grandma had walked away, disappearing into the crowd. And it's right about here that I started to panic. I didn't even know their names, the baby's name, or any identifying information other than their physical appearances. I walked around for like 30 minutes holding a happy baby looking for her family. After a while, one of my managers came out and I explained to him the situation, and I tried to hand him the baby, but he just threw his hands up and said, "Hey, that's all you. You have to find the parents now." Another 10 minutes and I'm walking with this kid before I finally spot grandma. Now she spots me as well and actually tries to turn around and leave. Well, I catch up to her and I hand her back the baby, and she actually looked at me semi-disappointed. But it's like, people, you can't just drop your baby off to a complete stranger. They didn't even leave supplies or anything like that just in case. They just handed me their infant and then ran off. Needless to say, from that point on, I didn't hold any more children. Not even for a second, because my God, I was not going to risk that ever again. Oh my gosh, bro, that is some crazy behavior. Holy crap. First of all, I would not know what to do if I was in that situation because I'm kind of like the original poster. I'm not really a big fan of kids, and I definitely don't want to hold one or to be like forced to babysit some kid that like I literally don't even know. Because dude, you're just a theme park worker. You're not responsible for like babysitting some random kid that was just handed to you. And how irresponsible of the parents, dude. Like they just said, okay, you hold on to this kid and we're gonna run away. This employee is gonna be your new mommy. See you later. And my God, they left her for 10 minutes. I don't know about you, but that would probably be like the longest 10 minutes of my life. So yeah, thank God you found the parents. That would have been awful if you couldn't, as I'm sure that would probably be a very confusing phone call to security and probably the police.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
Am I the jerk for refusing to continue to see someone after they repeatedly cancel plans with me over and over again? Because my friends say that I should just give him another chance, and the guy is saying that I'm being too harsh and that I'm giving up too easily. And at this point, I'm just super frustrated and I'm not sure what else to do. Here's how it happened. I'm a 22-year-old female and I've been casually seeing this guy for a few months. In the beginning, everything felt normal and easy. We would hang out a couple of times a week. We would grab dinner, watch movies, go on walks, etc. It wasn't anything super serious, but it was consistent and enjoyable. But over time, his behavior started changing. He began canceling plans more and more often, usually at the last minute. Sometimes he would text an hour before we were supposed to meet up, saying something like, "Oh, I'm tired." Other times it was a vague, "Oh, something came up," or "My friend needed me." Now, I tried to be understanding because I know people have lives, bad days, and unexpected things, but it wasn't occasional, like it literally became a pattern. There were multiple times when I had already gotten ready, changed my schedule, or turned down other plans just for him to cancel with barely any explanation. person. And every single time, I was the one trying to be patient or just shrug it off. Last week, he canceled again with basically no context. I was really frustrated, and honestly, I had hit my limit. So I straight up told him I didn't think we should keep seeing each other because it didn't feel like he respected my time or effort anymore. Well, he got upset and accused me of being too harsh and for giving up too easily. A couple of my friends said I should have communicated more or given him another chance, but from my perspective, I did communicate and the behavior just kept repeating. Now I'm stuck wondering if I overreacted or if I'm being too picky, but another part of me feels completely justified. I don't expect perfection, but I do expect some basic respect and consistency. So am I the jerk for ending things after like repeated last-minute cancellations? What should I do? Okay, you made the right choice in my opinion. This guy's absolutely giving you the runaround and you don't deserve that in the slightest. Like that sounds super annoying and I would be really pissed off if I was in your shoes. So no, you're not the jerk. You're not being too harsh and you're not giving up too easily. Because if this guy really did want to see you, then he would probably make the time just like anybody else. Am I overreacting for being upset that my coworkers sometimes show up like 3 hours late to work? Because after I got chewed out for clocking in early, I feel like I'm completely losing my mind and everybody's taking crazy pills. Because right now I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 32-year-old female and I'm a manager in retail. I'm one of those people who likes to show up about 10 minutes early to my shift. I'll clock in a few minutes early too, just so I can get settled and actually start my day without rushing around. I'm also usually on the phone with my adopted older brother on my way to work, which helps me mentally prepare before walking in. Some of my coworkers, though, show up anywhere from 1 to 3 hours late on a regular basis. And this is not an occasional thing, I mean constantly. And when they're late, the work they were supposed to do just falls on whoever is actually there, which is usually me or the other dependable people. Since I'm part of management, I've brought it up to the store manager, but she just brushed it off like it's not a big deal. No write-ups, no big talks, no accountability. Well, here's the part that really gets to me. I've actually had people talk to me and fuss at me for being early. Not late, mind you, but early. Meanwhile, people stroll in 2 hours after their shift starts and nothing happens. So basically, if I clock in early, I get talked to, but if my coworkers show up 3 hours late, then nothing happens. And I'm the one left scrambling because the store still has to run. I mentioned to another coworker that it bothers me, and they said I'm being dramatic and that I care way too much. But honestly, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect people to show up even close to their scheduled time, and it feels pretty unfair that people who actually show up are the ones who get corrected. So am I overreacting here? Like, do I have any reason to be pissed off? Because right now I really am pissed off. Oh man, if people were really getting on my case for clocking in like 5 minutes early while my coworkers are showing up like 3 hours late, well then congratulations, I'm also gonna show up 3 hours late. Like, are you kidding me right now? I'm actually here on time. You're telling me that the people above you care more about supposed time theft than people not showing up for their shift? Like, dude, absolutely not. So I think the best solution here is maybe just stop clocking in early. Don't do these people any favors, don't scramble around the store. If stuff is out of line, too bad. Document it and send it to corporate. And then when corporate asks like, hey, who was supposed to be handling this section? You can be like, well, that's not my section, that's my coworker section. And by the way, they're late every single day by 3 hours. Because seriously, if these people are not going to do anything to like fix this situation, then congratulations. That's not only your sign that, hey, I probably need to find a new place to work, but also if it all falls apart, it's not on you. You're the one clocking in on time. You absolutely have your stuff together. And just because your coworkers are not picking up the slack does not mean that you have to pick it up for them. Because the fact that they still have a job is absolutely insane in my opinion. My best friend begs me to come and visit her, but then treats me like a stranger the second I show up. And after I spent literally over 12 hours just to travel there, she refused to treat me like the best friend we've always been ever since high school, leaving me in a state of panic for days on end while I tried to figure out what I should do next. Here's what happened. 2 weeks ago, I took a trip out into the middle of nowhere in the United States to visit my best friend. We have been best friends for about 9 years now, ever since we were in our mid-teens. My friend begged me to visit them for Halloween, so I obliged and paid a lot of money to get there. And this is a big deal for me as I'm a broke college student. I spent nearly 12 hours in 3 different airports and on airplanes getting there alone, with delay after delay after delay for all 3 flights, and the stress of a last-minute rebooking for one of them. Well, I got there and everything seemed chill. I did feel kind of weird when my friend took me grocery shopping, and I asked them what their budget was, and they said to me, well, it's not my budget, it's yours, and made me pay for my own food. Other than that, it was chill until my best friend's boyfriend boyfriend came into the picture. We went to this local bar show on Halloween, and the car ride was painfully awkward because the two of them exclusively talked to each other like I wasn't even there. I even had to literally drag my best friend by the arm multiple times to get them to hang out with me, and they neglected to even introduce me to their local friends until they remembered after like 5 minutes of their friends awkwardly looking at me. And keep in mind, we used to be really tight, but now they seem like they just want to stay right by their boyfriend. At one point, I literally ended up drunkenly inserting myself into a photo being taken of my best friend because I literally wasn't invited at all, and it started to feel like I wasn't even there in the first place. And I literally said to myself, okay, screw it. If I spent this much just to get here, then I'm gonna have some kind of proof that I was here in the first place. In fact, one of my best friend's other friends ended up being the one to invite me into some of the photos, not even my best friend. And keep in mind, I have never even been here before. I know literally nobody here. It even got to the point where I lost track of my best friend for a while, and even a stranger at the bar, after telling them why I was there and stuff, said to me, okay, well, where's your friend at? And I just said, man, I have no idea. The stranger then said to me, wow, you came all this way and they just kind of abandoned you. Now, I laughed it off at the time, but in hindsight, I'm kind of floored my best friend just left me. You know, a young woman in all this Halloween makeup and stuff, alone in an absolutely packed bar in a place I've never been to. The amount of creepy men that were hitting on me was historical. I was drunk at the time and kind of laughing it off, but in hindsight, I would never intentionally let that happen to my best friend, especially if the tables were turned. At the very least, it's a safety hazard. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I tried to socialize with my best friend's boyfriend, but he was awkward and cold. He stood in the same place the entire night and drank 1 or 2 beers. He also offered to drive us home if my best friend wasn't sober enough multiple times. Now, fast forward to going home from the bar at around midnight, and my best friend tells me that their boyfriend is going to sleep in their bed for a few hours, and asked me if I would be cool with sleeping on the couch. Now, I have pretty bad back issues. For reference, I had a huge surgery years ago that they, of course, are very well aware of, so that means I can't really sleep comfortably on anything other than a bed. But I very hesitantly agreed as long as it was only for a little bit, because at the end of the day, it's not my house, and I didn't really feel comfortable saying no to them as it wasn't really a question. We got home and I called a good friend back home just to chat for a bit, and after the call, I realized that my best friend and their boyfriend had went up to their bedroom and shut the door without a single word. I knocked on the door twice and texted my best friend multiple times, asking about my personal belongings, but I got no response, even though I could hear them in the room. I was still in my Halloween getup with a full face of makeup and an uncomfortable costume and all that, and I didn't know what to do. So I just laid in a chair in the living room awkwardly. I then heard the bedroom door open and shut, and I thought maybe the boyfriend left, so I went to check, but no, the door was still shut, except now my backpack and clothing was placed outside the door without a single word, either verbal or via text messaging. This felt super weird to me, and I just kind of awkwardly went back to the living room and changed it into pajamas in there. Later, I found my purse also placed outside the door without a single word. I felt rejected, alienated, and kind of hurt and confused. An hour went by and nothing happened, and I was exhausted. So I just resigned myself to trying to sleep on the chair. Well, maybe about 45 minutes later, I heard the boyfriend leave the house, and I went up to bed, but not before sending a kind of drunk, pissed off message to my best friend, explaining that what happened was weird and not cool. I got a response the next day as my best friend was at work until like 4 o'clock, that their boyfriend had to sober up, and they didn't know it would upset me. They then pointed out that we had that conversation about it, and thought I agreed from that, and said that they'd make sure to bring it up multiple times next time. But I was like, next time? Okay, whatever. I was upset, but the next morning when I woke up, I had pretty much gotten over it, and I texted back my best friend apologizing for my reaction. The next day, we had this big Halloween party we were supposed to go to together. My best friend fell asleep in the early evening, and so I asked their roommate when the party was, because I wasn't sure when I should begin getting ready. She told me the time, but advised that because I was probably riding with her and her boyfriend, and they were leaving earlier to help set up, I should probably get ready pretty soon. I was really confused, and I was like, oh, I thought I was riding with my best friend. But the roommate told me, oh, your best friend asked me if we could drive you instead, because they just want to go with their boyfriend. And honestly, that was it. That was the thing that did it for me. I then walked away and I burst into tears in another room. I couldn't stop crying because I felt really rejected and just crappy. I would never treat my best friend like this, especially if they spent so much money and time getting to me after I had begged them to do so. Me and my best friend used to be so close, and it was like I didn't even recognize them. We're not teenagers, we're in our mid-20s. I thought this kind of behavior was far behind our age. So I had gotten into my costume and my makeup, but I was so upset that I just ended up saying that I just wasn't feeling well mentally and that I'm not going. Well, my best friend then just said to me, oh, well, okay, that's fine. I'll be back in a few hours, and then went without me, which I can't entirely blame them for, as I was just too upset to communicate my feelings at the time. But even still, I can't relate to it at all. They never came home because they slept at their boyfriend's boyfriend's house, leaving me to sleep in the house alone as the roommate was also staying elsewhere. They only came home at like 7 o'clock in the morning to grab their things and go to work. I then called my sister, who's literally a defense attorney and thus the most devil's advocate, benefit of the doubt kind of person that I know. I knew that she wouldn't just take my side of the story at face value and would instead question my perception, or if I was misunderstanding anything, or if I was just leaving something out. And this is why I called her, because frankly, I was hoping that she'd tell me that I was just being dumb. Well, thankfully she didn't. And in fact, she was like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?" Which is like a big reaction for her. Long story short, we ended up looking at earlier flights back home for me, but found that it wasn't feasible without costing a fortune. So she helped me draft a level-headed and thorough message to my best friend, because my only other option was to confront them. Well, my best friend replied to the message while she was still at work, and the summary of their reply was to basically say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way." Like, they literally just blew me off. When they got home, we talked about it, and it was kind of a disaster. They kept saying things like, "Oh, I didn't even know anything was wrong. Like, this is just how I live my day-to-day life. This is so overwhelming. Oh my god. I'm just so exhausted. Like, I'm just trying not to end it all." Which, by the way, is an excuse they've pulled on me many, many times before. She then said to me, "Oh, you left me hanging at the Halloween party like I was alone all night because my boyfriend was with his friends. I also didn't even end up riding with my boyfriend. Like, that didn't even end up happening anyways. Seriously, you need to communicate these things with me if you want me to know you're unhappy," even though I definitely did. She then said to me that this feels so overwhelming and that she feels like a crap friend. And at a certain point, their defensiveness pushed me over the edge. They then said something like, "Oh, I just don't understand where this was coming from." And at that point, I snapped. And at this point, I will admit that I raised my voice. I said to her, "Well, because you've treated me like crap the past 2 days." I immediately apologized for yelling and emphasized that I wasn't mad, which was true at that point. I was just disappointed and hurt. Eventually, I conceded to some things and said sorry, and they said sorry too, but it really felt forced, as they didn't take accountability at all. I then managed to pretend I was fine for the next 2 days until I flew home. I texted them that I landed, they responded, and since then, I haven't really talked to them or even heard from them at all. This has been weighing very heavily on me. The more I think about it, the angrier I feel. I don't even know what to do except like end the friendship, but I really just don't know if that's a rational reaction to this situation. So am I the jerk, or did I overreact in any kind of way? Because right now, I really don't know how to handle this. Okay, dude, this is crazy. Like, hands down, this is worst case scenario for me. You fly for 12 hours to visit someone you thought was your best friend, only to then have them treat you like this. Like, that is a nightmare waiting to happen. Because guess what? You're stuck with them. You're stuck for the next like 5 days while they treat you like garbage. And I don't know about you, but that sounds miserable. That sucks, dude. First off, just to illustrate, no, this is not normal behavior. You should have never been treated like that ever. Like, it kind of seems like your friend was not prepared for you to be there at all. She was supposedly begging you to be there, but then doesn't even have the decency of being a good host. Like, holy crap, what a terrible friend. If that was me, I would have been like, I don't care how much money it costs, get me out of here. Like, seriously, put me on a train, put me on a bus, get me the crap away from this lady. Because this is like the ultimate form of disrespect, in my opinion. You literally spend so much money to get there, you spend all your time and energy just to show up, and then she doesn't have the common courtesy of treating you like a human being. Like, dude, this is unacceptable. So no, you are not overreacting. This is incredibly rude, and the way she treated you is really not fair. You deserve to have a friend that was going to have your back and actually want to spend time with you, because what this lady did was the opposite, and you definitely do not deserve that. My friend accused me of using her and even refused to pay me for babysitting her kids. And now I feel like our friendship is completely ruined. And at this point, I seriously just don't know how to fix things. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I used to nanny for a couple while I was in college, and we were really close, especially with the wife. And for the sake of the story, I'll call her Jessie. I moved away for a bit and I came back in May of this year. And when I moved back, our dynamic had changed. We were still friends, but I was also the first person they asked whenever they needed a babysitter for date nights or whatever. I work full time now and I have my own life, so sometimes I say yes and sometimes I say no. But the real problem started in early September. Jessie asked me to babysit because of a family emergency, but later on I found out it wasn't even an emergency. I told her no because I had jujitsu that night, something I pay for and actually look forward to, and she got mad and said I only want to be her friend when it's convenient, and that apparently I take advantage of her. Now, I didn't apologize because I didn't think I did anything wrong, but I did explain why I said no. Well, she didn't speak to me after that. Like, we're talking literally avoided eye contact. Then she ended up in the hospital later in the month for complications from being a surrogate, and suddenly she needed my help again. So I watched her kids, I let their dog out, I packed bags and made sure they had their stuff together, and even went with her husband to the hospital for emotional support. That first night, I babysat about 4 hours for their anniversary, then another few hours the next day, and then again the day after that. Later that week, I had the kids again while she was in labor. In total, it was around 12 hours, not counting all the extra things I did around their house. On October 1st, she sent me $200 and asked me to send it back so that she could prove to the agency that she paid me. So I sent the money right back. It's now November and I haven't seen a single penny. Meanwhile, they've bought new expensive stuff. And obviously it's their money, but to me, it shows that they can pay me, but they just simply haven't. Well, I finally hit my limit and I sent her a message explaining how she accused me of taking advantage of her while literally not paying me for my work, how she ignored me until she needed something, and that I'm not her on-call childcare. I said I wasn't okay with any of it. Well, honestly, her response was wild. She said that she came over to tell me off, and that I've been a jerk and crappy since I moved back, and that she poured into this friendship, and that I deserve to be cut off. She then said to me that if it was about money, I should have just asked her. She also tried to say that she thought I would just watch her kids because she was in the hospital, and then she ended it by saying, I don't like you and you don't like me, so let's just leave it at that. Now, I never told her don't worry about the kids. I was already supposed to watch them on their anniversary anyways, and I only brought up the money once when we got tattoos and she literally grumbled. I wasn't being a jerk. I was just living my life and not dropping everything every time she snapped her fingers. And her apology, well, I never even felt it was sincere. She only reached out again because she needed help. So now I'm wondering if I'm actually in the wrong here, or if this whole thing is as one-sided as it truly feels. Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, your friend sounds super selfish and this is simply not fair for you. You've dropped what you're doing so many times to help her out, but now that you have a life and you can't do that all the time, she's trying to be like, oh, I've poured so much into this friendship and you haven't. Like, this lady even lied and tried to be like, oh, I've got a family emergency. But it's like, that wasn't even the case. She literally just wanted you to watch her kids and like, it wasn't anything serious going on. So for her to sit there and be like, oh, wow, you are just not a good friend. Like, good Lord, dude, she is projecting so hard. You haven't done anything wrong. Like, you really have gone the right route here, and the fact that she's trying to turn this against you in some kind of way, in my opinion, is just so inappropriate. My entitled in-laws decide to leave a $1 tip after I picked up their tab of over $240. But now, after I asked them to pay for their own meals in the future, they've called me ungrateful, claiming that I should be glad that they showed up to spend time with me in the first place. And I'm honestly so blown away by their entitlement that at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So every other week, my fiance and I go out to eat with her family, and last week we went to a Korean barbecue restaurant owned by my uncle, where I paid for everybody's meal. I only asked them to cover the tip for the waitress, which they agreed to do so. The total tab was over $240, and I just paid for it. Usually when I cover the tab for my friends or significant other, they generously tip since they're only responsible for the gratuity, not the cost of the meal itself. However, a few days ago, my cousins revealed that they had only left a $1 tip, and they have done this before. I was shocked and disappointed because a $1 tip is insultingly low, especially considering I had treated them to alcohol and dessert. So I discussed this issue with my fiance, but her family insists that they never tip or only pays like $1 for a tip at a restaurant or even just general services. Mind you, this is happening in the United States. Well, as a result, I informed my fiance that our bi-weekly restaurant outings would have to change. I told her that I had only paid for their meals as a kind gesture, and while my fiance was annoyed, she ultimately understood. Well, yesterday, they asked if I would buy their food again next week, to which I responded that they will need to cover their own expenses for their own meal. I didn't want to confront them about their habit of tipping only $1, so I decided to handle it differently this time, and simply pretend to cover the tip for them. Well, her family did not take to that so well. They accused me of being ungrateful, arguing that they were the ones taking time to meet up with me bi-weekly, and that asking them to tip was unreasonable in the beginning. They also suggested that since my family is wealthy, it's only fair that I continue paying for their meals. Now, my fiance was surprisingly on my side. She knew her family had this issue, but she didn't have enough courage to say anything about it. So honestly, am I the jerk for deciding not to buy anyone's food anymore? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, your future in-laws sound absolutely miserable. Like seriously, they're acting like this is a burden on them, or like like it's some kind of sacrifice that they have to go through just to see you. But you're literally dropping what, $240 for all of their food? And this is at a family-owned restaurant too, by the way. Like, how ungrateful can you possibly get? And it's funny that they would say that you're ungrateful, since they're basically trying to argue that them showing up in the first place is like a gift or some kind of blessing in your life, which is just crazy to me. All you wanted them to do was leave a healthy tip for the server. It's not like you're asking them to cover the $240 bill that you paid last time. You just want the server to get some kind of tip that isn't just $1, which, by the way, that's incredibly disgusting. I'm right there with most people when it comes to like tipping culture, and in my opinion, I think the whole tipping culture is way out of control. But in this instance, when you have a server waiting on you hand and foot, I think a tip of only $1 is incredibly insulting. They literally made sure that you had everything. They got your food to you, they got your drinks, everything was taken care of. You had a personal assistant making sure your meal was right, and you only give them $1 as a tip? Like, that's just ridiculous. And this situation is one of those things where I'm like, yes, they should be given a tip for being a server. But with all that put to the side, their attitude towards you is incredibly ungrateful. Like, it sounds like they want a free meal out of you instead of actually getting to spend time with you in any kind of way. And that, in my opinion, is completely inappropriate. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, and if I was in your shoes, I would never bring him to that restaurant ever again.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for giving my friends a hard time about getting food from a food bank, since they make a lot of money and actually lied on their application just so they could get free food? Because right now I'm questioning everything, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I went to go visit a group of friends recently who all share an apartment. During my trip, I tagged along with them to pick up some food from our local food bank. Now, I found this odd only because I know for a fact that they aren't struggling financially. They've all graduated from college and are currently in graduate school. They each individually make over $45,000 per year, with one of them making as much as $65,000 per year. Combined, their total household income exceeds $200,000, which is something that they've explicitly told me. In fact, one of them recently just bought a brand new car that was about $50,000. My point being is that they are not struggling to put food on their table. During our drive to the food bank, one of them made a joke about how the volunteers at the food bank would see the brand new car and then refuse to give him any food donations. But I responded to this by saying that the food bank would be justified in doing that, since there are many people who could benefit from the food that they're giving away. One of my friends responded to me by saying, "The food bank has a ton of excess food that would go to waste anyways." But I told her she was rationalizing her choices. She snapped at me and said, "Why don't you just shut up? You're just trying to imply that we're taking food away from people when you have no idea what you're talking about." So I told her that I'm not implying it, but instead she's saying exactly that. And that was the end of the conversation. Now, I should also mention two other details. For starters, this specific food bank isn't open to everyone. It has specific income requirements, and my friends lied about their income on their registration forms. Secondly, once we got back to their place, they ended up throwing away about a third of the food they were given because they either didn't want it or because it wasn't the best quality. And mind you, the food was definitely still edible, but maybe not in the best condition. So I really need to know, am I the jerk for getting all my friends about this? What should I do? Okay, first and foremost, no, you're not the jerk for being like, wait a second, this is sketchy. Like, they're going to the food bank and taking food when they definitely don't need it. And on top of that, they lied on their application just so they can get free food. Like, these do not sound like good people at all. Like, they are actively going out of their way just to steal food from a food bank. And it's food that they don't even need. They could easily buy some groceries and then some with all the money that they're making. It also brings into question why the original poster would even be friends with people like this. I know if I saw my friends acting like this, I would be questioning if I ever want to be around them ever again, because this is an entirely different level of dishonesty. And the fact that they think this is okay, in my opinion, is incredibly sketchy. My parents make me feel like anything I ever do is never enough. And right about now, I'm considering moving out because I am so sick of being treated the way that I am. Here's what happened. So I'm a 25-year-old male living with my dad and stepmom. We recently moved out of state to a new place with 12 to 13 acres and have been living out here for the past year and a half. However, I feel like it's time for me to move out. I don't just live with my parents and do nothing. I work a full-time job 5 days a week, which I feel very blessed in, as my job job is very supportive and I have awesome coworkers to work with. I'm not making tons of money, but I have opportunities for advancement as well as pay raise incentives. I pay my dad $500 a month in rent and also pay my own phone bill, my car insurance, my internet bill, and I pay for my own credit card bills. Not to mention also helping out with groceries or other minor things that might be going on. I have never asked them for money ever, and if anything, I end up paying for things I would rather not if possible. Well, I just recently got into a huge fight with my dad that turned very nasty. I was venting about how I was stressed out about trying to find time to get salt during my lunch break at work. This is because we had a coworker leave and my assistant manager went on maternity leave, so we are very short-staffed. I am trying to juggle many different tasks and responsibilities at work, and it can get very overwhelming sometimes. Despite that, I feel most of my stress is from the emotional drama at home because my family constantly fights and argues amongst each other on a daily basis. Well, my dad suddenly blew up and threw everything that I did in my face, acting like I need to grow up and that his stress is so bad that I couldn't possibly imagine how hard it is for him. He is trying to get back to starting up his hardwood flooring business again because he just quit his job as a mechanic because he hated it, all because he would get ripped into by his boss on a daily basis. Now, I understand that is a challenging thing, but it made me feel completely insignificant and worthless. We ended up exchanging nasty words, and it even got physical, even though he was the one who provoked me first. Long story short, we ended up screaming at each other, and I said some nasty things. Things got more physical from there, but eventually my stepmom started freaking out and threatened to call the sheriff. Now, I understand the things I said and my anger was not okay at all, but I was so hurt by how insignificant and worthless he made me feel. I know it's tough for my dad dealing with those things, but every time I try to talk to him about any stress I'm going through, he acts like I'm just supposed to get over it and deal with it. In his eyes, I'm just an immature child that will never understand how hard it is for him. Even after everything calmed down, they just told me that I act like I don't have to do anything just because I pay rent. I spend all my time doing everything they want me to and hanging out with them, so it's becoming super confusing for me. I feel like they just expect me to know what they want done all the time. And when I say that most of my time is spent hanging out with them, I really mean that. I have no social life outside of work. I have no other friends. All my extended family and relatives are out of state, and they make no effort to stay in contact with any of us. And yet my parents tell me that I need to do more helping with little things around the house. At this point, I have a better relationship with people at work compared to home, and sometimes I would rather stay at work and work overtime instead of coming home to deal with more family drama. We don't have a dishwasher, so I help out with cleaning the dishes and drying them and putting them away, and I'm the only one who vacuums the basement in our house and cleans and pays for the cat litter because they don't like my cat downstairs, which, by the way, it's actually my sister's cat that she abandoned after running away from home and abandoning everyone and everything. And all they do is say terrible things about the cat and my sister. I also do all my own laundry, and I help out with their laundry too. We also take care of animals, and I help them when we do go down to take care of those things. They complain about how I stop helping take the trash out, and it's because they canceled our trash service in a fit of rage since the trash men don't pick it up, and now we're supposed to be burning it all in burn barrels. I just end up shutting down because they constantly lecture me on everything I do, and it makes me feel incapable and incompetent. It's like they just expect me to know what they want done 24/7, and instead of asking me for help or communicating that these things need to be done, they just get mad and complain about how nobody helps them with anything. Now, I don't agree with what my sister did at all, and I have my own feelings about it, but my stepmom constantly compares everybody that she doesn't like to her and calls anything and anyone she doesn't like my sister's name. It gets irritating, especially when they constantly complain about everyone and everything, and then wonder why nobody wants to do anything with them. They go out and talk to all these people, and then as soon as we leave, all the trash talking starts. It's extremely negative, and I don't know how to keep my composure anymore because they treat me like I don't know what I'm talking about anytime I try to make suggestions. I don't even spend much time doing things that I want to do for myself, aside from maybe 1 to 2 hours a night when they go to sleep. Yet I get treated like I'm this selfish person, even though I feel like I'm practically waiting on them hand and foot. Now, my boss at work has been very supportive, which is a blessing, and is telling me that my parents are just going to keep gaslighting me whenever things go south, and that it's time for me to move out and get my own place. I get the feeling that no matter how hard I try to take care of things with my family and the household, that it is never going to be enough, and they will always find something to endlessly complain about. I feel like I'm constantly suppressing all this built-up anger and resentment and acting like everything's okay when it's really not. My dad and stepmom's relationship isn't even that great to begin with because they constantly bicker, fight, and argue with each other over the most minor things. I hate to say it, but it's like they just enjoy being miserable and expect me to be this happy-go-lucky ray of sunshine who has this perfect life, and I'm supposed to be in a good mood all the time when they constantly are angry, miserable, argumentative, confrontational, and always have a bad attitude. So am I overreacting, or is it time for me to move out and get started on my own life? I'm trying to stay positive, but I feel like I'm at war with all the negativity and mental stress. I feel like I don't know what to do or what to believe anymore. Yeah, that sounds like a really bad living situation, and I don't blame you for considering moving out. The way they're treating you is so inappropriate, and you've got it right. It really seems like they just want to be miserable and complain all the time. And how is that fair for you at all? So yes, in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would definitely be moving out. Your parents sound absolutely miserable, and you do not have to be forced to live in that kind of environment for another second. My entitled boss lays into me after I take 10 extra minutes for lunch. So I decided to get revenge by refusing to work any extra hours after work, eventually leading to them having to hire 3 new people just to cover my job when I eventually quit for something better. Here's what happened. So I worked for a large brokerage firm in their mutual funds division. My duties included working on special projects for the controller, coordinating with the users on any issues that needed to be addressed, and working on automating all processes. I love my job and I was really good at it. Since I had these various jobs, I had 2 computers so that I could run the programs that I was modifying while still working on the other jobs. Now, as I stated, I love the work since I basically did what I wanted to do with minimal, if any, supervision. Due to this, I regularly came in early, sometimes as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, and stayed as late as 7 o'clock p.m. I easily did 2 to 3 times the work of anybody else. I was always the first one in and generally the last one to leave. Well, one day I took a lunch break, which was also rare as I brought my lunch and I worked straight through. Unfortunately, I had some errands to run, and I ended up getting back after taking an extra 10 minutes. I was then summoned to my manager's office, where he reamed me for over an hour for these 10 minutes. Eventually, I had had enough of this, and so I asked him if he realized how early I got in and how late I stayed over, and his answer absolutely blew me away. He said, "It doesn't matter how early you get in or how late you stay. It's only what happens between 9 and 5 that counts." So I decided to maliciously comply. I stopped going in early. I would take a walk or read a book until 8:55 a.m. I would take a break mid-morning, take exactly 1 hour for lunch, and another break in the afternoon. I would stop work at 4:45 p.m. and clean my work area. Exactly at 5 o'clock p.m., I would shut down my computers and leave for the day. And you know what? He never said anything about this, as he knew he brought it on himself. All that resulted from this is that he lost 5 hours of work a day from me. Not long after this, I left for brighter pastures at an increase of total compensation of almost 100%, especially since I found a very high-scale investment firm to work at. I later found out they needed to hire 3 people to do my work, and just like someone would say, you don't know how good you have it until it disappears. Wow, the manager in this story is a complete idiot. They literally just shot themselves in the foot by reprimanding an employee who literally goes above and beyond to get stuff done. They literally picked the wrong person to mess with, because as it is, they were already doing so much work. So good for you for maliciously complying, as well as for finding a better job, because those people definitely did not appreciate the way that you worked. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for being mad at my sister for constantly making underhanded comments about me and passing them off as jokes or mistakes? Because at this point, I'm seriously frustrated, and I now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So for some background, my sister and I are 2 years apart. I love her a lot, but she's never really felt too much affection towards me. She is very outwardly kind in front of our larger family, but usually likes to start fights and arguments and then blame them on me. She is very full of herself and wants to have a very specific profession that she simply is not cut out for. Over the past couple of years, I've noticed that she tends to scoff at me or say things like, "Yeah, right," or "Sure, whatever you think." And this is whenever I talk about stuff that I'm good at. One interest that both of us share is singing. We both love it, and even though she may practice more, I have enough natural talent to keep up. Whenever she is getting complimented, she is always very proud and starts bragging that she's she's the best voice in the family. My parents always tell her that we're both equal, but she will just say, okay, sure, whatever makes you happy. She can even be meaner without family around. Whenever she hears me sing, she plugs her ears and tells me to stop and other things like that. Now, for this next part, I need to give you a little bit more information. Firstly, I'm not the skinniest person. I'm not overweight, but I'm not as slim and thin as other people my age, therefore making me less attractive. My sister is very skinny for her age, and she is very pretty. She boyfriend hops a lot and always has someone to go to if one relationship fails. She always criticizes my style and the way I do my styling. For instance, she loves doing makeup. She loves watching videos about makeup and practicing makeup. But when it comes to me, on the other hand, I know just enough for it to look good. But my sister claims that unless you practice a lot, it's going to look ugly. She then offers to redo my makeup and hair because she doesn't want me to embarrass myself in public. She often makes fun of the way I dress as well. I love sweaters, sweatpants, and t-shirts, and she loves crop tops, leggings, and tights, and thin veil-like shawls. She says that she is always in fashion and that I need to follow her lead if I want to be popular. She isn't even that popular herself, but when I express my dislike with her saying that, she just tells me that she's looking out for me. When I'm telling my family about something, like a cute outfit or a new makeup look I tried, she just asks me what video I used to find it and makes my whole family believe I was taking credit for somebody else's work. She hates it when I do better at something than she does and will roll her eyes and scoff, telling me that I need to stop showing off because other people have done it before and I'm not that important. She always embarrasses me in front of my family and friends and still gets all of the attention. I have learned to not talk about my accomplishments unless she is not around, but that is almost never. So everyone thinks that I'm a failure now, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, your sister's a massive jerk. She steamrolls any opportunity you have to show off anything that you're good at, and she's so quick to take away any credit you might have towards something that you did on your own. Like, I can only imagine how obnoxious that must be, as well as how frustrating it might be whenever you try to share anything. And it's almost like your sister's making like everything a competition between the two of you, but it's a competition that she created, and it's one where she changes the rules whenever she wants. Like, it's already pretty obvious that she's an attention hog in and of itself, and it almost seems like her mission in life to try and keep you from having anything that you really enjoy. Like, she's coming after you for singing, as well as the clothes you wear and the makeup that you put on. Like, your sister sounds super obnoxious, and that would really be annoying to deal with. So no, I don't think you're the jerk for being mad at your sister for the way she's talking about you, because all these comments are not just like passing jokes or anything like that, and she's not trying to help you out and be like, oh, I'll redo your makeup because it looks awful, because what she's really saying is, oh, your makeup looks awful, even though she's trying to pass it off as like helping you out, because honestly, you do not deserve this kind of treatment in the slightest. My partner spent the night at a hotel with her ex-boyfriend and then lied to me about it when I questioned her, and right now I'm completely devastated by this information, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm still trying to make sense of what's happened here, and this post is just mostly me trying to get things straight in my head. This just happened today and it's totally caught me off guard. We've been together for 9 years, and I've got 2 adult children, as well as my partner's 2 children from her previous marriage who live with us 100% of the time. Their father isn't present in their lives and probably never will be. They call me dad and consider me their father, and I love them just as much as if they were my own kids. Having been through a messy separation, which affected my relationship with my biological kids, having these 2 stepkids was completely unexpected and has been one of the best things that ever happened to me. Their mother and I both came from deeply flawed relationships, and we just clicked when we met. And I can honestly say that it's been the most perfect relationship, and until now, I literally could not think of anything about it that wasn't perfect. Yes, we've had our ups and downs and trials and tribulations, but we have always deeply valued our relationship and approached it with complete honesty, as well as openness and a lack of judgment. We're 100% committed to each other, and both of us have never expressed a desire to step outside of our relationship, but we always agreed that if we ever did, we would discuss it with each other first. We both had to fight together to make our relationship happen because of circumstances at the time that aren't really relevant to this. It's just that it wasn't something that fell into our laps. We had to work hard and make it happen. We have never willingly or knowingly kept anything from each other, including our past relationships and hookups. We understand that these things happened before we met, and both of us have never felt threatened by any of them. My partner was pretty adventurous when they were younger, and they've remained in contact with some of those guys, and I've honestly never had any issue with it. She's always always been upfront to me, and she's the sort of person who makes friends with guys as easily as she does with girls. She's from another country, and her parents and family still live there. Every few years, she goes back to visit her parents for a few weeks. Before they died, mine lived only a few hours away, so I always encouraged her to visit hers when she could. She has many friends back there too, and I know she misses them very much, and it's almost impossible for any of them to visit us because of the expense. Basically, we live in a wealthy country and they don't. For various reasons, the kids can't travel. It's simply not an option, so I play single parent for a few weeks, and it works well for all of us. A bit more work for me, but nothing too dramatic, and I've been happy to do it because I love her so much that it never seemed like a chore. So before this trip, she spoke to one of her old hookups, whom she speaks to every few months. They haven't had quality time together for over 20 years, if you know what I mean, so the relationship has been platonic, and he knows all about me, and knows that she's settled and happy and no longer on the market, so to speak. Well, it turns out that he was planning on visiting home in the same country as she's from, and it was literally a coincidence and not something either of them planned. She asked if I'd be okay with her meeting up with him, and I said yeah, I was okay with that, and also said that sleeping with him was something that would be totally unacceptable to me. She said she just liked him for his friendship and his company. I also stressed to her that she owed it to the guy to let him know that she wouldn't be sleeping with him because it would be extremely unfair to him to have any expectations, and she should give him that courtesy and respect. She did explain that to him, at least that's what she told me. He was also staying at a luxury hotel as he is extremely wealthy, and this also played into my insecurities. He'd offered for her to stay there, which she refused, but she said that she would meet for dinner. Now, I'll admit I was a little uneasy about this, but we'd built a relationship on trust and giving each other freedom to exist without requiring permission from each other. We're together because we choose to be together. However, I was also feeling that I would never do anything that would make her uneasy or suspicious of me. I felt that she would have to know that agreeing to meet this guy under these circumstances would make me feel very uneasy. She asked about this and I said that I trust her, which I honestly really did. But at the same time, I would never subject her to the same treatment. I would politely turn down my ex, and I would say to them, sorry, but I don't think it would be appropriate for us to meet like this. After the strictness and control of her previous marriage, and seeing her blossom and grow when she was given her chance to be herself, I never wanted to be the type of partner to put conditions and restrictions on her. I said quite clearly, don't spend quality time together if you know what I mean, as I simply wouldn't tolerate that. Also, she didn't have to tell me any of her plans because I would be none the wiser. She could have just easily have organized this behind my back, but she didn't. She let me know what was going on, and I will give her credit for that. Well, fast forward to last night, and her messages and phone calls during the previous day had been more brief and less frequent and overall just different. I knew that she was meeting up with this guy around these few days because they're at the end of the trip, but although she'd been very specific about her timetable up until now, she hadn't been for the past few days. It just felt different, but I didn't think much of it until later. She often gets busy towards the end of her trips home as she tidies up last-minute commitments and some chores. So the both of us share our location on Google Maps, and as busy parents, we've always done it because we can then just see where the other person is at. It has never been about control or suspicion, but instead it's about convenience and safety. When she's back home, her internet is patchy, and she often disables data due to the expense, and instead uses free Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi at her parents' place. Before going to bed, I always send a goodbye message, and she nearly always returns it, but sometimes she's busy and doesn't do it, which honestly is all good. Because she's been less informative the last few days, I checked her location, and I could see that she was at the luxury hotel the guy was planning to stay at. So I thought to myself, okay, she's catching up with him, and that's fine. And then I decided to go to sleep. Well, there's a few hours time difference, so she's a few hours behind me. In the morning, I get up, and there's no goodnight message. It's unusual. I mean, she nearly always sends me one before she goes to sleep, so I decide to check the location and see if she's at home safe, and wouldn't you know it, she's still there at the hotel. I checked during the day, and she's still there until 10 o'clock her time. Finally, I see her dot on the road back to her parents' place as I could see it moving. I then wait for a good morning message, and I get nothing. And instead, I get something later in the day, which is definitely not like her. I had a very busy and stressful day because of other stuff going on, and when I finally got home, I messaged her to call me. She does, and I tell her about my day. I ask her how her day is going and what she's been up to. She said that she met one of her friends, but didn't mention the guy at all. So I asked her, okay, have you met up with this guy yet? And she replies by saying, oh yeah, a couple of times, and she says this a bit vaguely. So I said that I had seen her location at the hotel all night, and she tried to deny it, but I said to her, don't lie to me, I saw it. She said something about the internet being patchy, and I repeated by saying that I saw you at the hotel all night. Well, she responds to me by saying, we'll talk about it when I get home. And when she said that, I was blown away. Now, she admits it, but she swore that she never slept with him. She said that she had too many drinks and wasn't okay to go home. And that's honestly straight up garbage, because she has access to a personal driver that she uses when she goes back home. I said it wasn't about that fact. It was that she straight up lied to my face. We never lied to each other. I would never lie to her, and she's never lied to me. At least not that I know of. It was the lie that honestly destroyed me. I didn't really care if she slept with him at that point. It's the lie that was like a knife through my heart, and I'm shaking just writing this. I said I was too angry to talk to her, so I just hung up. She called straight back, but I just dropped the call. I then messaged her and said that I was too angry to speak, and I would not be answering her calls or reading her messages. And then after all that, I had to make dinner, clean, and put the kids to bed. And I'm honestly just so hurt and sad, and I can't believe we had such a good thing going between us, and she would do this for what? So honestly, she arrives back home in a few days, and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, this is a pretty awful situation because she literally went behind your back. Like, sure, she didn't sleep with this guy, if you know what I mean, but she still spent the night at his place in some kind of way. And I don't know about you, but that is really sketchy, and I just would not trust that in the slightest. Because this looks really bad. And I totally understand where you're coming from too. The fact that she lied to you is really such a big red flag, and that is not something that I would take lightly. So genuinely, I think you have some very serious decisions to make in the next few days, because the way your partner treated you is completely out of line. And if things go bad, then honestly, she has nobody to blame except for herself. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My sister demands to live in my new apartment that I just inherited, claiming that she needs it a lot more than me, with my dad saying that I don't even need all the space that apartment has. Here's what happened. So I recently inherited my dead grandmother's apartment. As she lived in the city where I went to college, she offered me to move in with her on the condition that I buy groceries for her and drive her when she needs it. Now, I accepted, as I did not have to pay rent, and I got to use the car otherwise. Not to mention that I had a really good relationship with her. Now, she has recently passed away, and her will was made public, and in it, she left me the apartment. She also put in her will a letter in which she explained her reason, that it's because I made her final years happier than she imagined them to be, and this is all especially important since my grandfather passed away as well. So because of that, she wanted me to have it. Now, my sister has twin boys and came to me and asked if I could let her live in the apartment so that her boys could have their own room. For reference, the apartment has 3 bedrooms. I also know that she and her husband could never afford such a place. However, neither could I if it weren't for the inheritance. So I just flat out told her no. When I talked with my father, he advised me that I'm single and I don't need a place this big. So I should think about my sister, and that her family is also mine, and that I could always move back when I start a family of my own, which confuses me even more. Now, I understand where they're coming from, and we all have a really good relationship otherwise, and I also really like my nephews and I wish them all the best. However, I feel very much at home in this apartment, and I don't want to just give it up. So I'm now at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I think it's really weird that your dad's stepping in and almost trying to like force you out of the apartment that you've been living in. Like, that's really weird to me, and that doesn't quite make any sense. Like, your grandmother left that for you specifically. She made it very clear that she wants you to live there because you treated her so well in her final years. So in my opinion, I don't think you should feel guilty at all by saying, no, I'm gonna live there. It's also weird that they're like, yeah, you don't need that much space. You don't have a family. It's like, what are you talking about? I could have roommates if I wanted to. That apartment literally is mine. I could do whatever I want with it. And that's what you need to realize. Like, this apartment is yours. You own it. I don't know specifically where you live, but it sounds like it's in a good place. And the original poster went on to say that it's a really good location. So for you to give it up as some kind of like sacrifice so that your sister and her family can live there, it seems like a really selfish and backhanded way of being like, yeah, you got this apartment, but you don't deserve it. So in my opinion, I think it's totally okay if you said no, because you are not entitled to give up that apartment to anybody that you don't want. Because at the end of the day, this is your property. And if you want to live there for the rest of your life, then there's nobody on earth that can stop you from doing that. Am I the jerk for answering my mother's husband harshly and humiliating him during during a family party after he said some truly harsh things about my dead father. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of context, I was raised by my dad until I turned 14 years old. My mother did not want to be a parent, and she left my dad and me while I was still a baby. She did not pay her child support payments. She quit jobs left and right so she didn't have to. She even went to jail twice for failure to pay, and the every other weekend parenting time she was given by the courts, despite her lack of parenting towards me, is something that she very rarely ever took. I mean, she never took the full weekend anyways. She met her husband when I was 6, and from the ages of 6 all the way up until 14 when I lost my dad, I saw my mother and her husband about 5 times. After my father passed away, I lived with my uncles. My mother didn't show any interest in talking to me, even though her husband did, but my uncles, on the other hand, were people who wanted me, and who I had a close and loving relationship with. My mother did not take any parenting time after I lost my dad. She and her husband had 3 kids together, and her husband attempted to insert himself into my life during Father's Day activities, and he would ask me to live with them, but I mostly ignored all contact with him. One time, he attempted to tell me that I was missing out and blame my dad for all of that, but I shut him down firmly, and I was very harsh. I told him he had no right to speak about my dad, who was better than his wife would ever be. My mother's extended family, namely her parents and siblings, were always part of my life, and that's because dad facilitated those relationships. My uncles continued after he passed away, and now that I'm 27, I stay in touch with all of them. We're not very close, but I do appreciate their presence in my life. They were even invited to my engagement party last year. Now, this all brings me to the core issue. My grandparents were hosting a family party for a birthday. They invited me, and I decided to go. And my mother and her husband were there, and so were their children. My mother's husband approached me about getting engaged and wanted to know why they weren't invited as my family. Well, I told him that wasn't the correct topic for the party, but that he should know exactly why I didn't invite him. I then started walking away. He said he wanted to be the one to walk me down the aisle at my wedding and wanted to know if I would allow him that honor because he always considered me a daughter and he wanted to show me how he could be a better dad than I had ever had. At this point, I lost my temper with his choice of words, and everyone heard me say how he was not going to walk me down the aisle and that he wasn't good enough to be my dad. I called him pathetic for hating on the man who gave me a good life when his wife just didn't even care. He then became angry and told me that I should be more respectful, and at that point, I decided to leave. And a few hours after that, I got a text from one of my mom's siblings saying that I should not have humiliated him so publicly. So honestly, am I the jerk for the things I said to my mom's husband? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. If this guy did not want to be humiliated publicly, then he wouldn't have tried to do exactly what he did publicly. Like, this is one of those, like, you reap what you sow situations. Like, of all times you want to try and start drama, you decide to do that at a family gathering in front of your entire family. Like, that's really not a smart decision, and in my opinion, he has no right to try and make those kind of claims about your dad. And it's just so awful that he keeps trying to, like, insert himself into your life and also use your wedding as some kind of pawn in his own game. Like, that's so weird, and it just doesn't make any sense because he knows exactly the kind of person he was while you were growing up. Like, the only reasons he reached out to you, from the sounds of it, is because he had some, like, selfish desire to look good in front of the family or something like that, and his ways of going about doing this were so jaded. Like, he was literally motivated by being like, ooh, I'm gonna be better than your dead father. Like, I don't know about you, but that's an awful approach, and I don't blame you for not inviting them to your wedding. So you know what? If he's embarrassed by the way you talk to him, then good, because those people can hardly be called parents in the first place. Am I the jerk for refusing to help out my sister, who had an affair with my fiance right after we got engaged? Because right now, her life is falling apart, and my family is making it seem like I'm the only one that can help her out. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 31-year-old female, and I have not spoken to my sister in 10 years after she had an affair with my ex. I was with my ex from the age of 15 until we were 20. My sister was 19 at the time, and the affair had been ongoing. Most likely, they started the affair not that long after my sister turned 18. My ex was the same age as me, and my ex proposed to me while we were together, and my sister was helping with that and encouraging me to marry him before he proposed. This was so he would be around and they could still sleep together. We got engaged, and a few months later, my sister told me that I couldn't marry him because she was pregnant with his child. She tried to salvage a relationship with me and asked me to understand and not be mad at her. I told her she was disgusting and that I would never forgive her. I also told our parents what she had had done. I saw my sister once after her first child was born, a year or so after I had learned about the affair, and she told me she missed me and she wanted her daughter to know her aunt. She tried her best to get me to at least agree to a relationship with her daughter, but I told her it was not possible and I was still not going to forgive her, and I told her to not talk to me ever again. My parents and extended family also stopped talking to her when she started dating him for real, and they only resumed contact after they broke up. They then supported her because of the kids. My parents simply couldn't bring themselves to turn their backs on their grandkids or to sever the relationship forever. And you know what? I was fine with it because I do understand. But her having kids was not an incentive for me to repair things. I'm now in the present day happily married, and I'm a mom myself. A few weeks ago, my parents called and told me that my sister has been living 20 minutes from me for the last 2 years. They know I don't want to talk about her, so until this point, they had not done that. She moved out of state for a job, and then she lost the job, and her landlord had told her that she needed to be out in 60 days because he was repurposing the house. Without her original job, and with no support network here, she turned to them. She didn't want to pull her kids away from the place they were used to now, and so my parents decided that I should be the one to help out. They told me if I could help her by putting her in touch with people for a job, and maybe another rental, it would be so amazing. They wanted me to step in before the 60 days are up, but I refused to help, and I told them I will never do a single thing for her ever again. They pleaded with me to reconsider and told me to think of the kids. They asked me if I really hated my sister that much, and I simply said yes. I told her it would be bad enough to be the affair partner, but to encourage me to get engaged and help him plan it while they were cheating behind my back was such a low thing to do. I said the fact that she stayed long enough to have another child with him also showed how little she actually cared about me. They told me to be a better person than this, but I honestly just don't feel like I need to be. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? First off, no, you are not the jerk. Like, your sister burned you in a very serious way, and I don't blame you for not wanting anything to do with her. But also, your parents are completely out of line. It really seems like they're trying to force your sister back into your life in some kind of way, and that is so unbelievably inappropriate. How on earth are you supposed to go to bat for her for finding a job or another place to live if you know for a fact that she is not a good person? Like, I can't believe the situation your family's trying to put you in. That is honestly obnoxious. And they're also trying to guilt trip you by being like, oh, think of the children. But it's like the original poster already has children that they have to worry about. And if anything, this is just karma working its magic. And the fact that they said that you need to be the better person is so disgusting. Like, seriously, they don't care about your boundaries at all, and they're literally trying to shift blame over to you if you don't help out your sister, who, by the way, is a cheating scumbag. So no, you are not the jerk. You have every right to stay away from these people, and in my opinion, I don't blame you for doing so in the slightest. My entitled boss laid me off for refusing to come in on my weekend off, and I'm honestly so glad to be away from these people, as they were literally some of the worst people I've ever worked with in my life. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I've been in retail since 2009, and my now last job, I was there since 2014. I won't go into huge details about the work environment, but to summarize, in the whole time that I was there, my boss, despite always saying family time is important, would always screw over my personal time. When I worked directly under him, a lot of times he would cancel my days off because he was taking a trip somewhere else. Couple with that and childish and immature coworkers who threw temper tantrums and gave me the silent treatment, and I was seriously at the end of my rope. My job mostly consisted of delivering building material. I had a certain certificate to operate a certain type of delivery truck, and the certification was going to expire at the end of the year. About a week or so into January, HR came to do a review with me. During the review, they mentioned they're holding a course to revalidate the certification for everyone in the company in 2 weeks. They said to me that it's on my weekend off, and then asked me if I would be able to attend. I looked at my calendar and I said I had plans booked that day, so it doesn't work to my schedule. Now, my company wanted to get everybody done at once. That way, they save money on group training. HR said to me, well, just see if you can attend. And I said that the plans were set in stone and things were just left at that. About a week before the course, HR emailed me again, saying this course is critical for my job, so I need to try and attend. But I replied and said that it doesn't work for my schedule, that I'd be happy to do it any other day, but this is going on during my weekend off, where I had made plans well in advance, so it doesn't work for my schedule. For a few days, there was nothing else. My boss owns a few stores, and one worker from another store came by who was also going to the course. They told me that he had been been making plans with his fiancée for the last several months for that weekend, but had to cancel them because they suddenly revealed this training course and he had to attend. He wasn't too happy that plans he made for months had to be canceled. Now, I said nothing to him, as I figured it was his choice if he chose to do that. But then suddenly my boss began phoning me 2 days before the course, and what he said seriously blew my mind. He called me up and he said, "Hey there, HR tells me that you're unable to attend the training course." I respond to him by saying, "That's correct. I unfortunately made plans in advance, so I cannot attend." There was a moment of silence, and then the guy said to me that I needed to get this training done. I responded by saying, "I understand that, but I made plans well in advance and I cannot just cancel them." He responds back by saying, "Okay, you realize when we notify you 2 weeks in advance, it doesn't mean it's optional. This is mandatory." Now, at this point, I was starting to get mad. I responded by saying, "I understand that, but I've been planning this weekend since early December. I'll be out a lot of money if I cancel." He asked me what I was doing, but I responded by saying that that's a private matter and I can't discuss it. He then asked me, "How much is that towing bill costing me?" With me responding by saying that I pay for that myself because that was my screw up. And this relates back to a previous incident at my company. He's silent again for a few seconds and then he says to me, "Okay, then you're gonna have to do this training on your own time and on your own money then." Now, the training itself cost only a few $100s, but by this point, I had it with my boss. I said to him, "Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there." My boss then says to me, "This is pretty rich coming from you." But I said to him, "Well, I'm sorry, but I received no heads up, no communication that this was being planned for that date." Now, I know there were plans to do training early December, but I never heard anything about it since September or October. My boss then says to me, "I'm not happy right now." But I say to him, "Well, I'm sorry, but I have a life, and I can't just cancel things when I make plans on my day off." Fast forward, and for a week, I heard absolutely nothing. I continued my job as normal while looking for a new job, because I had simply had it with my boss. 9 years of all of this. I had reached my breaking point during that phone call. This boss was always screwing me over for my personal time off, and this was the last straw of trying to force me to come in on my scheduled weekend off. And then, 1 week later, towards the end of the day, HR showed up to my work. They informed me that they were laying me off due to the extremely slow season, with hopes of having me come back in the spring. Now, I just said nothing, choosing to leave on a high note instead. But I knew it was really their way of firing me without firing me. That way, they avoid paying severance, which would have been in the tens of thousands of dollars. I estimated between $10,000 to $40,000. Now, before you ask, I already looked at it, and unfortunately, I have no real way of proving that this is retaliation. All their paperwork, though I know is a lie, say that I was laid off for lack of work. The only proof I have is that recently, I had to contact the insurance provider for my company to get a letter of experience from them. The agent I spoke with said he recognized my name, saying my now former employer recently removed me from their insurance coverage. Other than this backhanded move, I'm glad to be out of there. I was unhappy and stressed out and seriously just fed up. I'm using the time to advance my driver's license to the highest one I can get in my country, and I'm honestly so glad to be away from that company. Yeah, that is really such a backhanded way of getting rid of you. They literally only did that because you wouldn't sacrifice your one day off. Like seriously, how is this your fault that they scheduled this without telling anybody about it? That is honestly super annoying and so unorganized that it literally puts everybody else in a bad spot. So honestly, good for you for getting out of there in a roundabout way, because this company that you worked for were complete losers, and you deserve way better than the way that they treated you. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My boyfriend gave me an ultimatum that if we don't have our future wedding exactly the way he wants it, then we won't be getting married. And I'm honestly at such a loss right now, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My boyfriend and I have been together for 8 years, and of course, every relationship has its ups and downs, but we are the type of couple to talk about our feelings and let it all out and not go to bed mad at each other. Now, it wasn't like this in the beginning, and it honestly took a while to get to this point. Now, anyways, I don't mean to, but I bring up marriage and the wedding a lot. I really want to be married to him because he is supportive and would do anything for me, and I would do the same for him. We both do want to get married, but it's when to have the wedding that is giving us such issues. I graduate college in May, and I'm starting a decent career where I will be able to save. As of now, we have not saved up anything for it. He wants to have enough money saved up for a wedding and invite family and friends on both sides. Now, after looking at how expensive expensive wedding planning is, I started to want to either elope or have a small ceremony with immediate family. But he says no. I eventually compromised and said to him, well, what if we have a bigger reception later when we can afford it and just invite immediate family for now? But he still says no. So I asked him, how much would it cost to have a wedding, as venue prices near us are starting at around $10,000 alone. But he says that he doesn't care. If he doesn't have the wedding how he envisions it, then we won't get married at all. I tried to compromise, but it's just not working. I just don't see how we will be able to save up wedding money as fast as I would like. I am getting to an age where I start to think about when to start a family, as I would like to be married before doing that, and before buying a house. I'm honestly at such a loss, and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, for starters, it really seems like your boyfriend is being really hard-headed. Like this guy's like, ooh, we're gonna do it my way or not at all. And that just doesn't sound like a good, happy marriage in my opinion. Like you say you guys work things out together and you don't like to go to bed mad at each other, but this guy's like not compromising on anything at all. In my opinion, I think a smaller ceremony sounds perfect, to be completely honest. Like neither of you have any money saved up, and yet he's demanding to have the wedding exactly how he wants it, otherwise it's not gonna happen. That, in my opinion, is kind of like a big red flag, and that is something that he definitely needs to get over. Because last I checked, the both of you are getting married together. Like this isn't just one person or the other. So for him to be like, ooh, we do it my way or we're not getting married, that's really weird in my opinion, and I just don't think that's a good idea. So hopefully this can work out in some kind of way where both of you can be happy about this, because as of right now, your boyfriend is being really selfish, and in my opinion, that is not fair for you in the slightest. My girlfriend said I was out of line for needing to cancel plans with her and her family, and right now I feel like a jerk, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I've been with my partner for 3 years, and her family has an informal get-together every 3 to 4 months. It is at a local bar where her family books out part of the bar so we can all sit together, have some food, and get some drinks. Since we've been together, I have been to all of them except for one when I was in the hospital. There's one planned towards the end of March that we are all planning to go to. Well, I got a message from my best friend from university, who I had not seen in nearly 2 years, telling me that a group of us who went to university together are all planning on meeting up in a city near where I live for the weekend. He asked if I was interested in going, and I said yes. This would be the first time I've seen a couple of them since we left university 3 years ago. So I thought it would be a great time to catch up and all this other stuff. My friend told me what weekend it was happening, and as you might be able to guess, it's at the end of March at the same time as my girlfriend's families get together. I spoke to my girlfriend and I told her what had come up and apologized that I would need to cancel going to her family get together just this once because of this. Well, when I said this, she said I was out of line and I should have told my friends no. I told her I understand she's upset, but the family get-togethers are a lot more regular than me meeting my friends, and that I don't know the next time I'd get to see them ever again. She just repeated that I should be going to the family get-together and not meeting my friends, and that I shouldn't be canceling plans that I'd made. I tried explaining that sometimes things come up that cause plans to change, even if it is unfortunate, but she literally just wouldn't listen. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, your girlfriend is being completely unreasonable. Like seriously, these get-togethers happen all the time. They do this, what, every 3 months or something like that? This isn't like some once-in-a-lifetime get-together where you have to be there or else you're missing out. Like they do this once a quarter, and honestly, it happens all the time. But in contrast, you haven't seen your friends for nearly 2 years, and you're probably not going to get another chance like this for a long time. So for her to freak out on you and act like this is such a big offense to her family, in my opinion, is so weird. Like you're never going to get a chance like this where everybody's together again, and for her to expect you to attend every single family gathering is honestly just a little bit weird. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. Your girlfriend is the one that's out of line in my opinion, and the fact that she can't understand where you're coming from, in my opinion, is a pretty big red flag in the long run. Would I be the jerk if I asked my boyfriend to move in with me without his cats? Because right now he's looking for a new place to live, and I don't know if this would ruin our relationship if I asked him to do this. So my boyfriend of 1 year has received a notice to quit, which for reference is the step a landlord takes prior to getting an eviction, and he must be out of his apartment by April 30th. His notice to quit is no fault of his own. His landlord says that she needs the apartment for a relative who must have a first floor apartment. Now, when it comes to me, I'm a widowed homeowner. I live in the next town from where my boyfriend's apartment is. We live in the northeast of the United States, and we are experiencing an incredible housing crisis, just like so many other parts of the country and world. He is paying $1,400 $1,500 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, and there is no chance of him finding any sort of individual apartment with a private bathroom for that price of any size. His job does not pay well, despite all the decades of experience and being an award-winning employee. I'm not going to say too much details about what he does for work, but let's just say he's doing very important things. His mother has said that she does not have the space for him to move back in with her, but that she would take the cats if it becomes necessary. He adores his two cats who are about 12 years old. The odds of him finding an apartment that he can afford and that takes cats before April 30th is not very good. Even finding an apartment that doesn't allow pets and securing it before April 30th is not looking in his favor. Now, I do not want to live with cats. I have tried it and it's just who I am. I'm not even going to bother getting into the reasons because I don't want this discussion to turn into how wonderful cats are and how horrible I am for not wanting to live with them and about how wrong I am about how I feel and all this other stuff. I am simply not going there with this. But here's the thing. I love him, and he is the only person that I have met or dated since my husband passed in 2019 whom I would consider living with or spending the rest of my life with. So would I be the jerk if I asked him to move in without his cats? What should I do? So I don't think you're the jerk for asking him to move in with you without the cats, but it might be better to look at this as like a temporary situation instead of a permanent one, because here's the thing. He's got cats that he really loves, and asking him to give it up just so he can move in with you is probably not going to happen. Like maybe if you told him, hey, you can move in with me and keep the cats with your mom or something like that, since she is willing to watch them in the meantime. This would at least give him some kind of breathing room for finding a new apartment, and you get to enjoy his company without having cats running around all over your apartment. Because from the sounds of it, that's something that you really do not want to deal with. And I don't blame you for setting those expectations now, as opposed to figuring it out as he moves in. Am I the jerk for telling our landlord about his daughter's plans, as she was planning on taking the furniture out of the fully furnished apartment that I was renting and taking it with her to go to school? Because right now, my roommate is calling me a jerk, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I live in an apartment with two other people, one of which is the daughter of the landlord, who we will call Hannah. Hannah is not her real name. She is moving to another apartment that is closer to her university the 1st of May. The landlord already has another tenant that will move in on the 1st of May that we already met and who we like. And so at this point, there are no problems. Well, I had a conversation with Hannah this weekend, and she told me she is planning to take most of the furniture in the living room and most of the kitchen stuff with her, including the television, the couch, plates, cutlery, and kitchen appliances. Now, I didn't ask or say anything then, and maybe I should have, but here's the thing. My other roommate and I pay a little bit more in rent so that we can have an apartment that is fully furnished with a living room and kitchen, and this is on paper in the rental agreement. So yesterday, I emailed our landlord and politely asked what his ideas are about the furniture, wondering if he was planning on replacing things, and if we had to do it ourselves, would we be compensated, or would the rent be lowered down altogether? I really just generally wanted to know what was happening. Well, today, Hannah came up to me very angry. She was upset because according to her, I went behind her back and tattled on her to her dad. Apparently, her dad forbade her from taking the stuff that she wanted to, and now she could only take the stuff from her bedroom and a couple of other small things from the living room and the kitchen. She is mad that I didn't talk to her because I went behind her back, stating that we could have come to an agreement of some kind and that I ruined her move because she couldn't afford a lot of furniture. Now, I feel like I maybe should have talked to her, but I mostly feel like I have an agreement with the landlord and not with her, and I didn't want to get involved in their business. So honestly, am I the jerk? Should I have done things different in any kind of way? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. Hannah's being super spoiled, and she's just mad that she didn't get away with some free furniture, because that's all she was trying to do. She didn't care about you in the slightest. She would have left that apartment bare if she had the chance. You literally just went to the landlord to be like, oh, okay, she's taking all this stuff. What am I gonna do? Do I need to buy a new couch and a new table and all this other stuff? Because seriously, if you're paying for a fully furnished apartment, then it better be fully furnished. And any sketchy business that Hannah's trying to do, where she's like, ooh, we could have had a deal between the two of us. I don't know about you, but that seems like a really good way to get evicted and to be on really bad terms with your landlord. And also, what in the world is she talking about? You ruined her move. She's still gonna move out. There's nothing that's gonna change there. Just because she got caught in the act and she now feels bad about it doesn't mean that you ruined anything. It just means that she can't get away with being dishonest and screwing you over in the process. Because that's all it would have done to you and your new roommate. She would have made off with a bunch of furniture, and you guys would be left with literally nothing, and her dad scratching his head wondering why you didn't say anything. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. jerk. And if anything, I think you should be glad that you got rid of Hannah out of that apartment, because it sounds like you were living with someone who was super entitled, and I think overall you got super lucky with her moving out. My friend is blowing me off after I asked for the art that I ordered, and right now I'm at a crossroads, and I now seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Over a decade ago, I met my long-distance best friend. Our friendship grew gradually, until years later when we finally called each other our best friends. We went through a lot together, like discovering gender identities, going through toxic relationships, anxiety, depression, and then some. But I now find myself at a crossroad. I ordered art pieces from them 5 years ago, totaling to a couple $100. I had one ordered 10 or so years ago, but I wrote that off since that was underpriced, and I don't have an attachment to the thing that they were drawing. But it is the expensive ones that I care about. Now, admittedly, partly this is on me for not being on them about it and rationalizing their lateness. But as of now, that is ending. I started getting on their case about it a few months ago. After I reminded them, it was radio silence for a few weeks before I hit them up again. But this time, there was no conversations, no nothing. Again, this is on me as well. I notice that I'm usually the one who sends contacts first, and sometimes I send good morning messages and nothing else. Recently, I noticed that I do a lot of heavy lifting in the friendship, and I have talked to them about it once before. After I contacted them the first time, I decided to not reach out first as an experiment. And again, I got nothing for 2 months. The next time we spoke was when I reached out for an art update. The conversation was all business. I tried to be friendly, but their messages were weird. When they finished a part of one of the pieces I gave my approval, they would then say nothing back in return. Not even a thanks or an okay. I think that is honestly finally what's making me snap. I'm fine with dwindling friendships. I mean, life happens, but I don't like being blatantly blown off, especially when we were calling each other best friends only a few weeks prior. I want to confront them about this, but I don't know if I should do it before or after they give me what they owe me. Or am I just being ridiculous and I shouldn't say anything at all? What should I do? Okay, this doesn't sound like a friend at all. Like seriously, this person doesn't sound like anybody who has any connection to you in the slightest. So for you to be like, oh yeah, we're best friends, that kind of leads me to believe that this is very much a one-sided best friendship, and this is not something that the other person reciprocates at all. Also, what is this timeline? You waited 5 years to follow up on art that you ordered? Like seriously, what are you doing? Like I'm pretty sure this person scammed you out of a couple $100, and they're probably gonna try to like ghost you in the future. If I commission an artist and they don't give me a time frame at all of when my stuff will be ready, then I'm gonna demand my money back and get somebody else to do it. I'm not gonna sit there and let this fester for 5 years and then suddenly be like, hey, about that art half a decade ago. Like, what is going on right now? So truly, I think you need to separate any supposed friendship away from the business of you getting your art, because from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like this person likes you at all. And I'm pretty sure that if you didn't say anything, then this art would probably never have been made. My entitled brother-in-law is constantly criticizing me for my job, claiming that my work in life has no value to society or my family. But after he said that, I saw red, and I snapped back at him in a way that I've honestly never done before in my life, airing out dirty laundry that he has going on with my sister, and essentially humiliating him in front of my entire family. And right now, as a result, my family is very upset with me, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm at my wit's end with my brother-in-law. For the sake of the story, we'll call him David. David is not his real name. For reference, I work in environmental advocacy, a field I'm deeply passionate about, but he constantly belittles my career and efforts. At every family gathering, he makes snide remarks about how I'm just hugging trees or living in a fantasy, while he's in the real world making real money. I've tried to brush it off or engage in constructive conversations, but he doubles down, making me feel small and invalidated. It's probably just a joke for him, but it can get really annoying. Last week, we had a barbecue over at our parents', and it was supposed to be a peaceful gathering. David started on his usual tirade, but this time he went further, criticizing the effectiveness of environmental work and mockingly suggesting that I contribute nothing of value to society or my family. And when he said that, I saw red. It wasn't just a jab at my career anymore, as it felt like an attack on my character and my values. So I snapped. I called him out in front of everybody, accusing him of being narrow-minded, ignorant, and this is where I may have went wrong, but I also told him how I know my sister is unhappy with him. I won't say things in detail here, but I have blurted out a private issue that they have. I also called him negligent to his family and how he just outsources his responsibilities, and that he is only good at bragging about his financial contributions. solutions. My sister, who is his wife, was deeply upset that I dragged personal matters into this, and everyone was dismayed by the level of hostility that day. I wondered if I was the jerk for letting my emotions get the best of me and ruining what was supposed to be a nice family time. While I stand by my beliefs and I feel David's provocations were uncalled for, I can't help but feel guilty for what happened. So honestly, am I the jerk here? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. David reaped exactly what he sowed, and this guy's been treating you like garbage, clearly in private, for way too long. Like, this guy goes out of his way to make sure you feel like garbage all because of your job. Like, seriously, this guy is already just a giant bully and a massive loser. This guy's like, ooh, I'm doing stuff in the real world, you're just in a fantasy land. Like, he clearly saw you as an easy target in some kind of way, so he would always go after you because he knew he could get away with it. But now, and I'm right here with you, he definitely crossed a line. He said that you're of no value to your family. Like, if someone said that to me, I think I would snap at them as well, and I would not care about where I was at that moment in the slightest. Like, this guy went after your core values as a human being and how you treat your family in general. Like, that is so uncalled for, because it's proof right then and there that he doesn't just have a problem with your job. He clearly has a problem with you personally as a human being, and that is honestly so disgusting in my opinion. So sure, you aired some dirty laundry, but this guy 100% started it. And in my opinion, if he did not want this to escalate in a really uncomfortable direction, then he should not have been the one to pour gasoline on this fire. And yes, what you said was probably not appropriate for like a family gathering or whatever, but neither is any of the stuff he's been saying to you for God knows how long. You do not deserve to be treated like that, and you are not the bad guy for standing up for yourself and telling this guy to get lost, because this guy's been a massive jerk to you in the past, and it was only a matter of time until you shut him down. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My husband constantly forgets to lock the front door, despite the fact that we live in a sketchy neighborhood, and I myself have had issues with strange men trying to break into our house. And at this point, I'm seriously at my wit's end, and I now just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my family lives in a sketchy neighborhood, which I am trying to change, but in the meantime, my husband cannot remember to always lock the front door. It is not uncommon for break-ins to happen around here, and I see people with substance and mental health problems walking down the streets every single day. A few months ago, I was home alone with my small children, and a man I'd never seen before started banging on my front door. He was banging on the windows, looking in the windows, and yelling for me to let him in, and this went on for 20 minutes until the police arrived. And thankfully, he was kept out because the doors were locked. But even after this, my husband still forgets to lock the front door sometimes. He never forgets to put on his seatbelt, but he can't remember how to keep the front door locked. He says that he would love to be able to remember, but he can't figure out how to guarantee it. And I'm honestly so mad at this point. I don't feel safe. My kids are not safe. I cannot understand how he still has not sorted this out. Is there something that I should do to make sure that he remembers? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, I can't believe your husband can't remember to lock the door after a crazy man was pounding on your doors and your windows demanding that you let him in. Like, is this guy dense or what? Like, seriously, what gives? The fact that he can't guarantee that he's gonna lock the door is so unbelievably disappointing, it's not even funny. Like, does he realize the gravity of the situation? He's being careless and it's gonna be at your expense. And there's literally no good excuse for not locking the door in a sketchy neighborhood. This isn't him like forgetting his phone or like misplacing something. This is him literally putting his family in danger. And it's gonna take something awful happening for him to suddenly be like, oh yeah, I should have locked the door. So I don't know if there's maybe like an automatic locking door that you could look into or something like that to try and mitigate your husband forgetting to lock the door. Because in my opinion, there is no good excuse for that. And the fact that he doesn't see this as more urgent, in my opinion, is incredibly disturbing. My husband does absolutely nothing around the house, constantly leaving me to do all the work around the house right after I get off a 10-hour work shift. But now I've decided to move out and live on my own, and I'm starting to second guess myself, wondering if that's the right move for me in my life. Here's what happened. So I left my husband, and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm not imagining how unhappy I was before, but he insists that we can fix it. I want us to live together as a happy family, but I don't trust him to follow through. So I wanted to post here just to get an outsider's perspective. For the sake of the story, we'll call my husband Dave. Now, I was doing the triple burden. I was working, doing housework, and handling childcare and anything else child related. I'm responsible for buying kids' clothing, arranging play dates and doctor's appointments, as well as school events, and Dave doesn't do any of these. He says I'm better at it. He also finds ways to belittle me in front of other people. He says he doesn't mean to and it's just a cultural difference, but my friends and family all find it very uncomfortable. I dread going out with him with others, as he always finds a way to embarrass me. Before Christmas, Dave lost a big contract, so he has been out of work and not really doing anything. I think he's actually been depressed, as it's very important to him to provide for his family, but he won't go to the doctor or talk to anyone. I've been trying to push him to get a job in a shop to earn literally any money, but he refuses, as I'm just nagging him about it. Meanwhile, I changed jobs and went full-time for the first time in 5 years, partly for the money and partly for career advancement. The only issue with my new job is that they don't believe in a set schedule, so my working days and hours are all over the place. Sometimes I'm home as late as 10 o'clock p.m. I know the hours suck, but it's a 1-year contract for an incredibly good company, and I want to use it as a stepping stone for a better job. I thought with him out of work and me working all the time, he might step up in some kind of way, but I would come home and the plates would all still be in the sink. I started getting really angry and resentful that I was having to work so hard at all angles just to keep our family afloat. If I asked him to do any housework, he would forget and say it's not a big deal and that it only takes 5 minutes. And I would say, yeah, that's 5 minutes in your 8 hours of nothing. Or it's 5 minutes after my 10-hour workday. I tried to leave at Christmas, but after some very long talks, Dave agreed to step up around the house. He started doing a bit of laundry and a bit of washing up. He also ran out of money, so I had to take a large loan just to cover the bills. I've been paying for everything for the past 3 to 4 months. I eventually approached a charity and told them about everything, and they agreed to help me out. They paid the deposit and the first month's rent for a flat, and I left last week. Since then, Dave has been devastated. He says he doesn't want to be without me. He misses me and he wants a future with me. He really wants to try and fix this. But you know what? I feel lighter than I have in a long time. I'm actually excited about the new place and a fresh start. But I also feel really guilty that he's so upset. I feel like I'm betraying him. So I'm honestly torn. Do I ask him to move with me and just hope and trust that a fresh start will be better? Can we get past all this damage? Or do I stay by myself and leave him suffering? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, unless some serious changes happen from your husband, there's no way in the world I would personally ever move back. Wishful thinking is not progress. Wishing that they do better and just hoping and trusting that they improve, that is not something you can bank on, and there's no way I would ever lean on that kind of wishful thinking in the slightest. Because seriously, just reflect on what you wrote in the first place. He does nothing around the house, and he refuses to get a job. Like, this guy has got to step up and do more, and there's no amount of wishful thinking that's gonna make that happen. He needs to just get up and do it, because right now he's been relying on the fact that you're gonna do it instead. And as a result, you've got to work 10-hour workdays and be stuck in this 1-year contract just to make things work. That seriously sounds awful, and I would not want to put up with that in the slightest. So I really do wish the best for you, and hopefully you're able to make a decision based off progress that's actually being made. Because relying on what you want him to be as opposed to what he is right now, in my opinion, is only going to lead to more heartache. Am I the jerk for going scuba diving for a week rather than going home to my girlfriend and newborn, all because her mother will not leave our house? Here's what happened. So before I met my girlfriend, I had a pretty easy life. I would work for 2 weeks and then I would get 2 weeks off. I had a small self-storage unit for stuff that I didn't want to get rid of. Other than that, I lived out of a suitcase at work and all-inclusive resorts. I even got the staff to do my laundry. I met my girlfriend, who we will call Madison for the sake of the story, 3 years ago, and we hit it off. Madison is not her real name. She has a more regular schedule, so I started spending my weeks off with her. After a year of this, I moved in with her. Since I had been staying at her house all the time, we didn't go away together, so it wasn't a huge change. A year later, she got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but it was not a surprise. We had been talking about starting a family, and she had gone off birth control. We had our son in November, and her mom came to stay with us to help. And here is where it went really badly. Her mom just simply won't leave. She won't let me hold my son. She won't let me change a diaper or bathe him. She literally won't let me do anything. I have talked to her about it, and she says she's sorry, but it doesn't change. I told my girlfriend that it was time for her mom to go home, but the problem is that I'm gone for 2 weeks at a time, and she still wants help. I said that I could get my sister to help out or something like that, or we could hire someone to be there the weeks that I'm gone, but she said no. January was the last time off that I had, had, and I got to hold my son for maybe 2 hours total. I told her that I was done and that her mom needed to leave our home. My girlfriend said that it was her house and she wanted her mom there as well. I went back to work, but I was angry. I booked myself a vacation and I went scuba diving. I still gave my girlfriend the money I agreed to give her for her budget. I told her that if her mom was still there when I came home, I was going to take some time for myself. Well, her mom was there. She would not hand over my son, so I picked up my luggage and I went back to my Uber, and I left the next day. She was calling and texting all night, but I didn't think there was anything to discuss. I then just went to Mexico for 10 days. When I got back, I called her and asked if her mom was going to be there next time I came home. She called me a jerk for trying to manipulate her and gaslight her, but I'm really not sure how I did that at all. I'm back at work now and we're talking every single day. Her mom has not left, and I was clear that I wasn't going to stay there if she was there while I was home. My girlfriend is alternating between begging me to come home as well as calling me a jerk. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I seriously don't know what to do. I kind of feel like everybody sucks in this situation, because seriously, what is happening right now? For starters, you're not able to hold your son when you get home, all because your girlfriend's mom is there basically hogging the child like all the time. Like, that's not okay. But also, you leaving for Mexico for 10 days instead of being an adult and stepping up and talking to your girlfriend, that seems bizarre to me, and it seems like a really weird way to respond to this kind of situation. But on the other side of this, like, why is the mom always there? And why has your girlfriend not respected anything that you're trying to say? Like, you have made it pretty clear that the mom in this story is absolutely being obnoxious, and she's not even letting you hold your son or bathe him or do anything. I think that's the fact alone that would drive me nuts, because this lady's acting like it's her child and you somehow just don't have any say over what happens to him. So yeah, everybody kind of sucks here, and I think some changes definitely need to be made, because as it stands, things are definitely really messy. Am I the jerk for telling my friends that my ex is a gold digger? Because right now, my ex-girlfriend is not happy, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my ex and I broke up a few months ago, and she makes about double what I make. She makes about $120,000 a year, and I make about $55,000 a year. She's very frugal, and I'm more relaxed with money. We do split things half and half with dates, but she does complain that I never treat her, which I don't because she makes more money than I do. She also, I know, has a lot of savings and a fully funded 401k and Roth. A year into our relationship, she bought a brand new car in cash, so she really does not need money from me or to be stingy. I have a few thousands in savings, as well as some credit card debt that I'm paying off, but that was from when I was out of work. We dated for 2 years and have been trying to move in together for a while, but it never worked out because she refuses to pay more. She works from home so she can live anywhere, but I have to live somewhat near work as I am on call several weeks every few months, and they expect me at work within 30 minutes. But my work is near downtown, so it is a bit more in rent. She refused to pay more than half on rent because it was near my work and therefore more expensive. I live with 3 roommates, and my current rent is near the max of what I can afford. If I move to be with her, then I pay more than I do now, and it's more than I can afford. She splits it with her roommate and claims it's not fair that I make her pay more than what she does now. This issue was a long-standing one and never went away, and then she broke up with me, basically telling me that I don't make enough for her to effectively have an equal relationship with. I was devastated because I make less than all my friends and family, and it feels like my manhood is being called into question. I work in an essential role, and I feel like I'm being put down because I don't make enough even though I do important work for society. So I've been telling my friend she broke up with me because she is a gold digger, because she cared too much about what I make. I don't care that it's a crass thing to do. She should have valued me more than just what I made. Some of our mutual friends told her, and she made an Instagram post calling me out, saying that I'm a jerk for calling her a gold digger when she made more money than I did, and the relationship ended because I expected her to pay more on rent. I don't think it was the main issue, and it was really just the fact that she didn't value me enough beyond what I made. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, it seems like everybody kind of sucks here. It seems like the only reason you're trying to be like, oh yeah, she's a gold digger, isn't because she didn't respect you for what you did and like the person you are, but instead it seems like you're just salty that she didn't step up and pay more for rent. Now don't get me wrong, it really does suck that she only saw you in dollar signs instead of like who you are as a person. Like that in and of itself really is not fair, but also based on what you described, it really didn't seem like this situation was gonna like result in a long-lasting relationship. Like it really didn't seem like you guys were compatible, you had different goals and different expectations, and she was not willing to meet you exactly where you are right now. So yeah, it was kind of a jerk move to be like, yeah, she's a gold digger. All she cared about was how much money I made. But it really doesn't seem like she was after like the money you make because she made more money than you. So it almost seems like a really dumb insult to throw her way because it doesn't totally make sense. So honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would just look forward and move on from this relationship because clearly it was not a good one. And I think you'll be better off looking for someone who cares about you personally instead of determining your worth based off how much money you make. My entitled future mother-in-law demands that me and my fiance name our firstborn daughter after her name. But after dealing with this lady on several occasions, as well as seeing how absolutely insane she is, I'm now putting my foot down and demanding that this never happens. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I'm engaged to my 20-year-old fiance. We're having a long engagement because we're so young. Now, we're not thinking of having kids just yet, but it has been mentioned by my fiance that his mom's dream was to have her firstborn granddaughter named after her. We're gonna call my fiance's mom Leslie. Leslie is not her real name. Leslie has a granddaughter already who she refuses to see because she hates the baby's mom. We'll call the baby's mom Kathy. Kathy is also not her real name. While Kathy isn't perfect, and I'm sure has done plenty, Leslie has her own issues she needs to work out. She's the kind of mom who will have issues where she only likes the girlfriend that follows everything that she says. And trust me when I say this, I am not that girlfriend, but somehow she is still a fan of me. Now, I thought my fiance was joking when he said he wanted to name our firstborn daughter after his mom, and I seriously thought they meant like a nickname or even her middle name, but they meant like the baby's actual exact name has to be Leslie. And I do like the name Leslie as it is. However, now I no longer see eye to eye or like Leslie in the slightest. We had gotten into it probably a little after my birthday in January. It had snowed and it was really cold. We got into it so bad that I tried to leave at midnight in just my pajamas and a sweater because I needed to get out of there. She was making me feel completely unsafe. She was talking about how I should just let Kathy ruin me and break me apart and let her manipulate me, which in turn I told Leslie that she was manipulating me by saying all these things, and I tried to leave but she blocked my exit. So I had to literally shove past her, and when she tried to follow me, she made contact with the door. She then said that she didn't want to fight with me and that I shouldn't have hit her with a door because she never lets females do those things to her like that. I mean, this lady is crazy. So I talked to my fiance and I told him that I am no longer interested in naming my daughter after Leslie, and that if I was to name her after Leslie, I would resent my daughter and her name, and I wasn't going to do that to myself or my child. Now, when it comes to my fiance, he really is a great person. He just really lacks a backbone. Like, there are times when he stands up for me in some kind of way, but I've rarely been around when he does it. I just don't understand. I've asked him before, am I your number one priority or not? And he says yes, but I really just don't believe him. So honestly, am I the jerk for not wanting to name my future daughter after his mom? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. Your boyfriend's mom is absolutely insane. If I'm being completely honest, any parent who puts this weird pressure on their kids to do certain things in their marriage, in my opinion, are completely out of line. It's usually a sign that they're super controlling and manipulative, and this is them trying to extend that manipulation into a future marriage. So for the mom to be like, yeah, you're gonna name your future granddaughter after my name, it's like, nope, that's definitely not gonna happen. There's no way I'm gonna let that happen. Not to mention the fact that she acts insane 90% of the time. Like, I don't know about you, but there's no way I would want to name my future daughter after somebody crazy that I have to put up with now, because that would be absolutely miserable, and there's no way I would want to put up with that for the rest of my life. An entitled Karen calls the cops on me at my house, claiming that I had stole her mail. She even went as far as try to get me in trouble with my work, making some horribly outlandish claims about what I did to her property. And I'm honestly so frustrated dealing with this nightmare of a neighbor that I now seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I have this Karen who owns the place behind mine on a private drive. A couple months ago, she threw a Halloween party and had family members driving off-road vehicles all night in circles for a haunted trail. Part of it came onto my property near my house and was keeping me awake. So I walked out in my pajama pants and kindly asked the guy driving to stay on their side of the line. Thankfully, he stopped and it was all good. Well, at least I thought it was. A few weeks later, I got a package accidentally delivered to my house meant for the neighbor. It was one of those soft Amazon packages, so there was definitely nothing breakable in it. It was something like slippers or maybe a coat. So I went to that neighbor's house and I tossed it towards her door. Well, apparently after this, she called my work, demanded to talk to my boss, and demanded that I be reprimanded. She said that I confronted her cousin 7 and yelled at him to stop riding his off-road vehicle and that I callously threw her package at her house, which all of this was just clear exaggerations of what actually happened. My boss explained that my work has nothing to do with the dispute between neighbors, but she still wanted him to talk to me about it. My boss called me into his office and told me what happened, and it was so embarrassing. Plus, I work for a notable firm in the area that doesn't appreciate negative PR. I decided not to make things worse and I didn't confront her, and it was so frustrating seeing her smugly drive by every single day. Fast forward 4 months, and I got home from work to find packages on my deck. I brought them inside and I discovered one of them was addressed to the neighbor. So I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go again. I decided to go for my evening walk as planned and figured I'd try to be the bigger man and return the package when I got back. And trust me, the temptation to be petty was immense, admittedly. When I came back from my walk, I found the neighbor and her older daughter on my deck. And when I got there, she asked me if I had her package. I went inside and I grabbed it and then I handed it to her. I told her I did not appreciate what she did by calling my boss and lying about the details. Well, that went about as well as you'd think it did, because she then accused me of stealing her package and told me it's a federal offense to mess with her mail. I told her that I had planned to give her the package, but she was stuck on how it was inside my house. She then asked me if I planned on throwing it like I did the last one, and I told her if anything was broken, I would gladly pay for it. Then she said the thing that I honestly did not want to hear. She asked if I wanted her to call my boss again. Well, my heart sank, and I told her to do whatever she wanted. She started to waddle away, and I started going back into my house. Then I heard her yelling at me again. She turned around and started screaming about how I took her mail. I turned away from my door and I told her to leave and that she was trespassing, but she literally would not leave. I told her at least 10 times to just go, but she kept yelling about calling my boss and telling me that she had cameras. Well, so do I. I pointed at them and then she finally left. And then, wouldn't you guess it, the cops showed up. She is the main reason I put up cameras, because of other stunts that she's pulled, and thank God that I have them. I showed the cops the footage and they just laughed. I guess she reported that I stole her package and that I had threatened her somehow. I showed the cops the video of the UPS guy dropping off the package, as well as me bringing the package inside without looking at it. As a result, she has now been officially trespassed and can't come onto my property anymore. But trust me, this gets better. She actually called my boss and told him the same lies that she told the cops. So I sent him the video and he said that he understands. But it's still such a garbage situation to deal with, and I honestly hope I don't have to deal with these people ever again. Yeah, I can't stand people like this who clearly lie to the police and then turn around and act like they're the victim somehow of stuff that they're actively doing. That's really petty, it's really annoying, and it's super dishonest. But thankfully she got trespassed from your property, so hopefully you never have to deal with that lady ever again, because her attitude and demeanor is completely inappropriate, and you do not deserve to live like that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Would I be the jerk if I kick out my bridesmaid simply because she kicked me out of her bridesmaid's party when she got married? Because right now I'm at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, so here's a quick timeline just for clarification. In November of 2021, my friend, who we will call Taylor, that's not her real name, got engaged and asked me to be a bridesmaid. In April of 2022, I got engaged and I asked Taylor to be my bridesmaid. In June of 2022, I find out I'm pregnant and I tell my friends, including Taylor. And in August of 2022, she asked me not to be her bridesmaid anymore, and her wedding was in October. She claims she decided not to include me anymore because she didn't want to put any extra stress on me with bridesmaid responsibilities. Now, I was disappointed, but appreciated that she was looking out for my health. It turns out it was all a lie, and that while she was at a party with friends, the topic of my pregnancy came up, and she said what she really thinks about all of it. Taylor said several times how irresponsible and thoughtless I was for getting pregnant. It was all unplanned, but my fiance and I had been dating for 6 years and living together for 2. She also said how annoyed she was that she had to replace me, as a bump would ruin photos and make the day about me, as people would probably talk to me about my baby. After finding out that Taylor lied to me, I was extremely hurt. Our mutual friends had no reason to lie, and multiple people told me the same story on different occasions, so I know it's all true. I completely understand Taylor wanting to not be overshadowed in her eyes, but it's not like I planned it around her wedding. I also gave her the opportunity to kick me out before by asking her at the same time I announced my pregnancy if I should still buy the dress yes, and she said, "Of course, you're still in the wedding." By the time she had told me I'm not a bridesmaid months afterwards, I had already paid for part of the bachelorette party. I had bought and altered my dress and planned out all mine and my fiance's travel and lodging for the wedding as it was across the country. My pregnancy became complicated, so my fiance and I decided to not risk it and miss the wedding. We told Taylor by the RSVP date, and she understood and even sounded relieved. I had my daughter right on time, and Taylor's wedding was beautiful from the pictures that I saw. I'm happy for her, but now I don't know what to do for my wedding. We pushed back our date to prepare and save up more money, so I'm not getting married until this November, but now that I'm back to planning, I'm not sure how I feel about her being in it. She has never admitted to her lie, but has no idea that I know about it, and our friendship has stayed good otherwise. But she still talks about people behind their backs, especially when she's drunk, but then claims they're best friends and that she loves everything about them. So I don't know what all she says about me. I can't shake the gross feeling that I get when she asks me about my child or says how excited she is for my wedding, knowing she went behind my back and said such mean things about me. So honestly, would I be the jerk if I kick out my bridesmaid all because she did the same thing to me? What should I do? Honestly, I'm kind of surprised you kept a relationship with her in the first place. Like, this lady does not sound like a good friend, and it does not sound like someone I would want in my wedding if I was in your shoes. So to me, it's not really a question of, oh, should I invite them to my wedding to be a bridesmaid? In my opinion, it's more of a question of like, well, should I even be friends with them in the first place? Because she clearly had selfish intentions as to why she kicked you out of her bridesmaid party, and in my opinion, I just can't imagine having her still in yours after all the things she said to you. So if you do decide to go through with it, I don't think you'd be the jerk in the slightest. I think you have every right to have whoever you want in your bridesmaid party, and in my opinion, I just don't think that would include someone who's going to talk to you in such a way. Am I the jerk for giving my friend the silent treatment after he turned down my invitation to be my groomsman? Here's what happened. So my fiance and I are getting married in Mexico, and the very moment we decided on a destination wedding at an all-inclusive resort, we knew we had to inform the most important people in our lives so that they had time to prepare. We informed our family and closest friends first and quickly began forming our wedding party. I invited one of my closest, oldest, and best friends to be my groomsman, and had also considered asking him to be my best man. We have been great friends since high school. We played and coached football together, and I was a groomsman in his wedding. Even though I moved to a different state for work, we still made a great effort to call and get together in person whenever we could. It never crossed my mind that he might say no to my invitation. When I first asked if he would do me the honor of being my groomsman, he hesitantly said yes. I excitedly bought personalized items for all my groomsmen, including him. A month or two later, he texted me to tell me that he changed his mind and didn't want to come to my wedding. The reason was that it was in Mexico, and if something happened to him, he would leave his kids without a father. Now, when he said that, I was floored. It wasn't a cost-related problem. It wasn't a situation where he's like, oh, I have no one to watch my kids while I'm gone. It wasn't even a time off work problem. It was just him saying that he might get taken out while in Mexico. Well, I haven't talked to him since, and he hasn't reached out to me either. So am I the jerk for giving him the silent treatment? What should I do? Yeah, I've got to be honest, it's kind of weird that you're giving him the silent treatment for not coming to your wedding. Like, for starters, you're asking him to come out of the country just to go to your wedding, and some people are simply uncomfortable with that. So the fact that you would give him the silent treatment all because he's not coming to your wedding is really immature in my opinion. Sure, he's one of your oldest and closest friends, but you're asking him to go outside the country to go to a wedding. Like, I know me personally, I probably would not attend because I probably would not be comfortable with it. Also, this is not some kind of like court summons, like he doesn't have to go if he doesn't want to. So in my opinion, I think you're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be, and I think you need to realize that he's not obligated to go to your wedding if he doesn't want to go. My entitled management is forcing us back to the office, refusing to allow us to work remotely, and with it, they're requiring us to have a brand new dress code. So I decide to maliciously comply just to shake up their expectations of what's allowed. Here's what happened. I work in IT for a manufacturer that's a global organization with about 30,000 employees globally. Our really good CIO, who was technical enough to get it and smart enough to realize that a global organization needs global people from all areas with wide ranges of skills, suddenly retired abruptly. He led us very well through the uncharted COVID waters, and we did really well. His replacement was named and was a high-level financial guy about 2 years ago. Many of us knew what this meant, as there are some very accurate memes about finance guys destroying IT. Just around his 1-year anniversary, he announced that we must return to the office and use the same emotional appeals about collaboration and missing something with remote work, just like all the other brain-dead executives around the globe. After a couple of weeks of enforced 2 core days a week for only the office that he worked at and other corporate offices in the neighboring city, we were then set for mergers and acquisitions with multiple key offices. So after a couple of weeks of return to office, an email was sent about dress code and clean jeans, that it would be best to wear company branded shirts and polos. After all, IT is on the same floor as the executives, and he's not going to look good bending the knee if us underlings are dressed in t-shirts. Comments were made on the side by middle management on how this would reflect poorly on reviews and merits. So that's when we decided to maliciously comply. I decided to purchase a 4-pack of high visibility polo shirts, bright yellow, bright orange, teal green, and gray, each with reflective striping. We are, after all, a manufacturer, and our corporate office is attached to a manufacturing building where high visibility is required, along with hard hats, hearing protection, and safety boots. I mean, we take our safety seriously, and I applaud that after all, right? Well, today my manager let me know that both the CIO and the senior director that I report to, after a few layers of yes people, have commented that my shirts are not liked. My manager said that it's totally up to me what I do, but he strongly recommends picking my battles and not wearing those shirts any longer. So I'm leaving with this. I'm writing up an ethics complaint. But what should I wear for the next week's core days? I'm thinking about showing up in my suit and nod to those 2 cowards who can't even say something to me directly. But regardless, I'm really sick of the way these guys act. Honestly, I think that's a really funny way to get back at this company for making you wear stuff that you definitely don't need to wear at work. Like seriously, that's just like super annoying to be like, ooh, we need a dress code. It's like, dude, I work in IT. It's not that important. So truly good for you for pushing the envelope, because the way your management is acting is honestly a little bit obnoxious. Am I the jerk for refusing to talk to my parents until they give me an honest answer about my mom and her family? Because right now they're dodging all of the issues that I'm bringing up, and it's really starting to frustrate me, and I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I live with my parents and my younger siblings, and we were very close until recently. My first mom died when I was 6 days old. She got really sick in the late stages of her pregnancy with me, and she never recovered from it. A few days later, my dad packed up and moved with me because he couldn't stay where they were planning a life together. This left her family behind. She has parents, siblings, nieces and nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins who were always a very tight-knit family. My dad met my adoptive mom when I was 7 months old. Out of insecurity on my mom's part and a desire to forget the future he planned with my mom, contact between my biological maternal side was limited to once a year. My mom didn't want to share the role of being a mom. She knew that my family would want to talk about my mom around me and would want me to know that she existed, but she didn't want to feel like she was always less of a true mom. And my dad has just never gotten over the pain of losing my mom, and he buries the past and her just to cope. I don't fully understand why they couldn't put me first in that decision, but they just didn't do it. My childhood was mostly happy. It had some negatives like wishing I knew my family better or that I had known my mom, but also I wasn't accepted by my adopted mom's family, so that was always really hard to deal with. Then I had more contact with my family. It started with texting and calling and Zoom calls regularly, and then convincing my dad to let me go for a weekend here and there. He and my mom did not like it, and the decision confused my siblings too. I have loved getting to know them, and they have loved getting to know me. Grandparents' rights weren't an option for them because of that one visit every single year, so seeing me more is huge for them. My parents really started to let me know how much they disliked all this extra contact. My dad said it's painful, and my mom told me that she feels less important because I'm chasing a relationship that ties to a mom I don't remember. A couple of weeks ago, they told me I should think of them and my mom's feelings, but I asked them how they would feel if they were in my mom's shoes or her family's shoes, if they passed away while their child was just a baby and they were erased by their spouse and his new spouse. I mean, would they be okay with that? And would they be okay if my siblings or I passed away with a newborn and they never got to be a real part of their lives? Well, when I asked that, they refused to answer, and I told them that I didn't want to speak to them until they gave me an answer because they were being totally unfair to me. Well, my parents are angry about this, and my siblings asked me why I had to make this such a big deal. So I posed the same question that I asked my parents, and it helped them to understand where I'm coming from, but my parents don't like my no talking thing. But literally all they want to do is talk about this topic, but then also never give me a straight answer. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I think it's really weird that your dad and your adoptive mom are refusing to allow you to have contact with your other family members. Like, I totally understand that they're like mourning the loss of this mom, but it really seems like they've gone about this all wrong. For starters, it really doesn't seem like he's gotten over the this loss in the slightest. Like, he even went as far as moving away and never talking to that side of his family ever again as some kind of solution to get over this pain. Not to mention the fact that your adoptive mom's family just doesn't do anything to make you feel welcome. That is really toxic in my opinion, and honestly, I don't think that's okay at all. And it also really does make sense why you would be like, okay, well, if these people don't like me, let's see if these people on my mom's side have anything good they want to say to me. And also, the fact that your adoptive mom's family would be like, no, we're gonna reject you. Like, that is such an awful thing to do, it's not even funny. There's literally no good reason for that, and they seriously should be ashamed of themselves. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk for pressing them about this. This is a part of your history that you do want to know about. These are people that actually are related to you, that they're denying you for literally no good reason. And that seriously just doesn't make any sense to me. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way that you do. Am I the jerk for not asking my fiance's brother's wife to be a bridesmaid, especially after all the problems she's caused in my life? Here's what happened. Okay, for starters, I have never really gotten along with my fiance's brother's wife. When I first met her, we were really nice to each other, but we didn't have anything really in common. We were cordial until about a year in, where we had an incident where she ended up kicking my fiance and me out of a room at an Airbnb because she felt as though she deserved the room more. It was also my 21st birthday, so that made it sting a little bit more. Since then, we've never really gotten along. I've always been cordial, but I had no interest in really being close to her because she always seemed to start drama with everybody. She's one of those girls who will start talking badly about someone just so you start talking about the same person, and then she turns around to run to the person to tell them everything that you said. I realized this after probably the third fight that she started in the friend group, so I've honestly just kept my distance. Now, where this gets tricky is that my fiance is constantly wanting me to try to be better for our relationship with them, and I have tried, but every time I get burned. I've thrown her a baby shower, did her entire gender reveal, and many more things just to try and be on her good side, and somehow I always end up being the bad guy. I drew a line in the sand at the beginning of this year when she unfollowed me on multiple social medias, and when she was confronted, I was, in my eyes, gaslit and told it was an accident when she was purging her accounts. The idea of even asking her to be a bridesmaid only got brought up after she found out I asked a few people, and she called my fiance crying about how she thought we were closer than this, and how it's not fair I don't ask her to be one. Now, I refused, because I know that if I do, it will make my day more stressful, and that's not something that I want. I compromised and said that I would invite her to the bachelorette party, but I'm being told that I should be the one to reach out with an olive branch. So honestly, am I the jerk here? What should I do? Wow, this lady sounds incredibly entitled, and she sounds like a massive jerk as well. Like, seriously, she makes all this drama literally for no reason. It seems so pointless, and it's all just to like start stuff for the sake of starting it. Like, it's really disturbing where she would like manipulate the conversation and only talk about like a certain person just to get you to talk about them, and then she would turn it around and tell the person that you were talking about, but like in reality, she started all of it. Like, that alone is enough for me to be like, yeah, there's no way you're gonna be a bridesmaid. And also, guess what? It's your wedding. You can decide who you want as a bridesmaid, and literally no one can do anything about it. If you wanted to have no bridesmaids for your entire wedding, then you could do that as well. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as to why you should have to be forced to have her as a bridesmaid when she's done so many awful things to you. And when it comes to anyone being like, oh, you need to reach out with an olive branch, it's like, are you kidding me right now? You've done all these baby showers and all these other things, but you're the only one that gets burned in the end. Like, she's never satisfied with anything that you do, and it's obvious that nothing you ever do will be good enough. I mean, she even kicked you out of the Airbnb all because she felt like she deserved it more. Not even mentioning that this was on your 21st birthday. Like, seriously, this lady does not sound nice, and it doesn't sound like someone I would ever want in my wedding party, like in the slightest. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. You should not be forced to have her as a bridesmaid in your wedding, because in my opinion, especially based off of like previous incidents that you've had with her, I'm pretty convinced that she would only cause problems at your wedding. My partner plays way too many video games, constantly prioritizing those over our own children and our home. And after dealing with this for so long, as well as working 12-hour shifts all the time, I'm constantly under stress trying to upkeep the house, as well as taking care of both of our kids, while my partner sits there and plays video games all day. And I'm honestly not sure if I'm the jerk for asking him to play less and try to be more involved in our lives, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so hear me out. When we first got together 6 years ago, he did not play video games. It wasn't until a little over a year into our relationship relationship that he started, which is right when we got internet that wasn't weak. He had mentioned playing when he was younger, but I thought he grew out of it. And at this point, I was pregnant with our first child. When our baby was born, he played video games a lot, and he did a lot of this during his paternity leave. We ended up going to therapy for other reasons, mainly just about all the struggles of being new parents and how that affects a relationship. And that's when he did apologize for how he treated me during my pregnancy, and he honestly did way better after our second child. But now I'm back to feeling like I'm in competition with his PC. I also just wish that he would help out with chores before gaming. Like, I enjoy playing Sims 4, but I've barely played because I can't enjoy it if I know there's stuff that needs to be done, let alone while there's two kids that need my attention. I understand wanting to decompress after work, but I don't get that when I come home from working on the weekends after doing a 12-hour shift. And while I'm doing that, he's home watching the kids, basically itching to just play video games. Anytime the baby naps or is just content chilling on the baby mat, he'll sit there and play video games. Not to mention that I don't feel like that gives our oldest son much attention either. I will come home and there will be dishes. There will be laundry and vacuuming that needs to be done, which is hard to do sometimes with the kids. But why not do it once I get home while I play with the kids? And then on weekdays, if I'm behind on cleaning, I'd like for him to entertain the kids once he's home so I can finish up cleaning. But instead, it's straight to playing video games. Also, it's not helping our love life. I've tried telling him that I'd like help around the house before he plays, and I feel like I'm always asking for him to get off so we can spend time together, which he'll usually get snippy over. The past few days, I've asked for help with the kids, and then usually just end up doing everything myself because I literally can't wait. I feel like I've tried explaining in every way possible that I do not like the video games. He'll either say that he just wants to relax or that it's all that he has. And sometimes he has cut down, but then picks it up right back again. So I'm honestly not sure if I'm just being really needy or if I'm being a jerk for wanting more from him, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think your partner has his priorities completely mixed up. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I completely agree. If you want to play video games, other things in your life need to get completed first before that can happen. It's honestly the only correct way to go about doing this, and it's the only way that everybody in the house can stay sane. Because what he's doing right now is completely irresponsible. He's allowing things to pile up and basically leaving it on your shoulders, and that, in my opinion, is completely uncalled for. Now, I've got to disagree with the original poster here, because I don't think video games are something you just grow out of, and also, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing video games, but it has to be in healthy moderation, because if that's all you do all the time no matter what, then cleaning the house or getting work done is never gonna happen, and that literally just cannot happen. Like, I really believe there has to be a balance in all of this, and I'm a firm believer that if you take the time, you really can find the balance necessary for all aspects of your life. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think your partner is being very selfish right now, and I think you have every right to be upset with the way he's acting. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen is constantly bumping into people, as well as cutting people off in the pool while she's swimming. And I eventually found myself cut off by this lady, where she claimed that I cut her off and that she was going to complain about me and get me banned from the pool. Here's what happened. So there's this Karen that gets in other people's way at the public swimming baths, but she thinks that everyone else is in the wrong. Occasionally, when lane swimming, someone will accidentally knock someone else, but it is very rare. It happens and it isn't a problem. However, there will sometimes be that one person who always bangs into others, and it's because they're unaware of other swimmers and that their swimming etiquette is completely incorrect. Lane swimming direction and speed is on a board at the end of the pool. There are several lanes to pick from, namely the slow, medium, and fast lane, which have rope markers held up with floats to identify each. The format is either swim clockwise or counterclockwise, and the information is on boards at the end of the pool. So if swimming clockwise, a swimmer will keep to the left, and someone overtaking can do so in the middle. Well, the entitled Karen of this story is slow, and as she approaches the end, but a long way from the end, she moves into the middle. She is completely unaware of anyone who may be overtaking her, and frequently cuts up other swimmers who have to veer away from her, or sometimes she'll knock into them. If I am doing the crawl, I do it in the middle lane, and if I'm doing the breaststroke, I do it in the slow lane, so not to hold up other swimmers. Well, I was overtaking her when I was doing my breaststroke in the slow lane, and that's right when she knocked into me. Now, have you ever heard the expression that it's not what someone says, but it's the way they said it? Well, this Karen just went into full angry mode. She looks at me and says, "You knocked into into me. But I look at her and I say, no, you knocked into me. The Karen then responds by saying that I splashed her and that I shouldn't be in this lane. But even though I tried to explain to her that you need to keep left, she interrupted me and said that I shouldn't be in this lane and she was going to make a complaint. I said to her that she needs to be more aware of other people, but she just said to me, you were going too fast and I'm still going to complain about you. I then responded by saying that you're not swimming in a straight line and that you literally swam right into me. But she just kept repeating that she was going to file a complaint against me. So, realizing that this conversation was literally going nowhere, I said to her, you need to learn how to swim in a straight line, then you won't keep knocking into people. I then swam off at that stage, leaving her looking perplexed. I mean, did she think the pool attendants would do something? Because they definitely wouldn't. She thinks she's the swimming pool police, but she is honestly very mistaken. And my only regret is that I didn't call her a Karen at the time. Yeah, that's such a weird way to act at the pool. Like seriously, all you gotta do is share the lanes. It really isn't that hard, especially if you're paying attention even just a little bit. It's also ironic to me that she's repeating over and over again that she's gonna complain about this guy, but like seriously, he didn't do anything wrong. It sounds like this entitled Karen is the person who does this all the time, and honestly, that must be so annoying to deal with, and hopefully that gets corrected sooner than later. Today, I found out that my wife has been cheating on me with a coworker from work, and I'm now honestly devastated and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my wife and I met through online dating about a decade ago, and we hit it off pretty quickly. We've been married for 8 years now, and we own a house together and have 2 young children less than 6 years old. Neither of us had really had a successful long-term relationship prior to meeting each other. We are a team and we constantly have each other's backs. We have worked through some stuff in the past, mainly financial stuff that we didn't see eye to eye on, but we communicate well and we work through things as a team. We are a single unit. We have not had any insurmountable hurdles until seemingly now. Now, she is straight and always maintains that she is straight, but she definitely has the sort of style that gives off the vibes that she might be into women. Now, my wife has issues with where to draw the lines on joking about things. And in her workplace, the level of joking, especially stuff intimate in nature, if you know what I mean, crosses all kinds of lines that wouldn't come near to being crossed at my workplace. I would get fired for the sort of things that she and her coworker joke about on a daily basis, but it comes with their work environment. Recently, she made a new friend at work within the last couple of weeks. They're roughly the same age, and my wife could not stop talking about her. Let's call her Rachel. Rachel is not her real name. Rachel is so funny. She has a kid of her own in our kids' class, and she sends funny messages all the time. Rachel is roughly the same age as my wife and I to my knowledge, and is married to a woman, and they have at least one kid. Well, last night, I was plugging in the iPad to charge, and the iPad is linked to my wife's phone, and so messages on her phone appear on the iPad as well. She was working a late shift, so I was home alone with the kids. I was plugging it in, and there was a message notification on the screen. It was a phone number with no name, and the messages were absolutely gushing about my wife's personality and her looks, and all this other stuff. Now, normally, I don't dig into her messages. I see the jokes that come through sometimes, and you can obviously tell that they're jokes. But this one just didn't sit well with me. It seemed too legitimately heartfelt, and so I decided to open up the message. And what I gathered over the next 10 to 15 minutes is that this was Rachel texting her, and that something, even though I'm not sure what that something is, had happened earlier in the day between the two of them. It was physical in nature, and my wife put up some kind of boundary. But then all of the messages after that were the two of them flirting back and forth, and my wife asking if they moved the boundary, with Rachel responding that they could discuss setting a new boundary. My wife also expressed that she wishes she had met Rachel before me, or at least before we had kids. Well, when I saw that, I took pictures of all the messages with my phone. I wasn't sure how to screenshot them and send them to myself from the iPad without her realizing. And then after that, I started texting her and asking her how her day was, as well as what she was up to and all this other normal stuff. And it is slowly revealed that she had spent the morning with Rachel, that Rachel was at our house in the morning, and she was there for the entire morning. She even said that they chatted about issues at work and issues with Rachel's marriage. And here's the thing, my wife never does this. She never has people over the house like this, and the odd time that she does, I generally hear about it. She tells me because she is excited that she had an old friend over or something like that. And so I danced around it a bit for a few more text messages, and then I said, screw it. I know something happened, and I'm going to put her on the spot. I then sent her the following text message. I'm about to start asking some very real questions, and I need you to have some very good answers. I then indicated that I had charged the iPad for her when she got home. Well, the iPad lights up with my message, and then I can see that she read it. It then lights up again, but this time with a message sent to Rachel. She sent a screenshot of my message to her, and she says to Rachel that we're done. Rachel asks what is going on, and my wife says that I know because I can see the whole conversation on the iPad. And then she texts me back asking if she can call me in a few minutes when she can find a quiet spot at work. But I told her not to call me, and I made arrangements for her to sleep in the basement. I'm honestly so numb right now. I did not sleep last night, and I had a million thoughts floating through my head. This morning I sat with her in the early hours of the morning and had a discussion that I think we need to address this through a marriage counselor who knows the best way on how to attack this. I then asked her why she has no answer, and she says that she can't explain. She says there is nothing wrong with me, it is nothing that I did, that she is happy in life and doesn't know why she did it. She says all they did was kiss and nothing more, but I told her that I know from her messages that she was pushing for more. I poured my heart out to her, and all I got back were some mumbled apologies, as well as her saying, I know you're hurting. She doesn't know what to say, and she seems numb as well. She said she's embarrassed, but I told her that she's only embarrassed and sorry because she got caught, because obviously she wasn't thinking about me or the kids. I left this morning for work, telling her that I'm willing to patiently work through this with a marriage counselor, but that this was going to take some time, that this isn't some situation where you went to a work party, got drunk, and made a mistake or anything like that. This was a Thursday afternoon. You were stone cold sober, and you invited her to the house immediately after dropping the kids off at school. And then you flirted with her via text the rest of the day, and while at work together and further getting handsy at work. All the while, you're sending me text messages asking about my day, while also just checking in on our life. And you know what? I can tell by the timestamps on the text messages that she was flirting with Rachel right before and after a phone call she had with our kids. I am so mad, and I'm trying to keep a level head and not do anything without rational thought put in first. And that's because I really do believe in trying to fix this. I have already made it clear that I want to go through marriage counseling, and I've also told her that she needs to smarten up at work and stop kidding around and act like a professional regardless of what others do. She has indicated that she has cut contact with Rachel and will not speak to her outside of a professional capacity when she has to at work. I have photos of the messages they sent to one another, and my wife does not know that I have them, only that I could see what was on the iPad. And in the meantime, I've told her to get comfy in the basement. I don't know if there's anything else I could do right now. I mean, is this a lost cause? Should I just go scorched earth? I mean, I really don't want to do that to my kids. Should I get her checked for a tumor? I so want to believe that she has a tumor that has tweaked her brain. I mean, this is just so out of left field. It came out of absolutely nowhere, and it is nothing like her. And she seems to have no real idea as to why it happened, other than her saying that she just got curious. I mean, should I try to get in touch with Rachel's wife and let her know? Or see if my wife has the guts to do it herself? Or should I just leave it well enough alone? She's got another late night shift today, and I'm at work right now, so we probably won't cross paths again until tomorrow morning. We have a weekend of kids' birthday parties to attend, which I don't know how we'll get through without people realizing there is something terribly wrong between us, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, how tragic of a situation. Like seriously, this really sucks, and I'm so sorry to the original poster. It's very obvious that your wife clearly thought she was going to get away with this, and that really is such a tragic thing, especially considering you guys have kids together. And the original poster got it right. It's like she didn't even think about them in the slightest. And her excuse for allowing this to happen is so wrong. For her to be like, oh, sorry, I got curious, didn't mean to hurt you. That is so toxic, it's not even funny. And I personally don't believe her for a second when she's like, oh, all we did was kiss. Like, I really think that's probably a lie, and it's most likely a cop-out just to minimize any consequences. And if you do decide to go scorched earth and decide to separate from her entirely, in my opinion, I really wouldn't feel guilty about any damage that does to the kids. Because at the end of the day, any problems that arise from that are literally your wife's fault. She did this to your marriage and your family, and there's really no good excuse for this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my inheritance with my siblings, as they are now demanding that I give some of that over to them, despite the fact that they neglected our parents towards the end of their lives? And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I recently inherited a significant amount of money from our parents after they passed away. My siblings, both older than me, have been pressuring me to share the inheritance equally between us. However, I've been hesitant because I'm the one who took care of our parents during their final years, and I'm also the one who sacrificed a lot of time and opportunities for my own career and personal life just to take care of them. Growing up, my siblings were always busy with their own lives. They moved away for college, pursued successful careers, and rarely visited home. Meanwhile, I chose to stay close to our parents, especially when their health started declining. I became their primary caregiver, managing their medical appointments, their daily needs, and providing emotional support. During this time, my siblings would occasionally check in, but they didn't contribute much to our parents' care. They never took on the responsibility of caregiving or even offered substantial financial support. Despite this, they still expected an equal share of the inheritance when our parents passed away. Now that I've received the inheritance, my siblings are demanding their share. They argue that it's only fair since we're all family. However, I strongly believe that I deserve a larger portion because of the sacrifices I made for our parents. I feel resentful that they only started showing interest in our parents' affairs when they realized there was money involved. I've explained my stance to my siblings, but they're accusing me of being selfish and greedy. They argue that our parents would have wanted us to share equally, regardless of who did what during their final years. However, I can't shake off the feeling that they're trying to take advantage of me and the situation. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, this might be a controversial take, but I don't think you're the jerk at all. If your parents really wanted your siblings to have any share of what they're gonna leave behind, then they literally would have put that in their wills. They would have stated very specifically who gets what, and they would have made that information very clear and present. So the fact that they did not do that and instead gave you everything is all you really need to know about the matter. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I think your siblings are being very selfish, especially considering how they didn't help their parents out towards the end of their life. My mom is threatening to ruin my entire life if I ever move out while I'm in college, and I now feel incredibly stuck and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm a freshman in college. I've been wanting to move out since I was 13 years old, given the fact that my mom is emotionally and physically awful towards me and always has been. The college I'm attending requires all freshmen to live on campus, and my mom made me opt out of it, requiring me to sign a waiver with my college because she said to me that if I moved out, she wouldn't provide her tax information for my financial aid. A few months have passed since that first incident, and today my younger sister and I got into an argument, and I said out of frustration that I would be moving out in June because I simply couldn't take this anymore. All of the belittling, all of the arguments over menial things, I was just so sick of it. Well, my mother immediately charged at me and began screaming at me, saying that if I move out, she will cancel my phone line, remove me from her health insurance, remove me from car insurance, take away my car despite it not being under her name, withhold all tax information from me, and make sure that my grandpa has to choose between me or her. For context, my grandfather is my best friend. He has my back on everything, and if I came to him in a time of need, he would help me no matter what. My mother is probably the only person who has the power to instill fear into my grandpa, as well as sway him in her favor as he is afraid of losing his daughter. My mom stated that I am not allowed to move out despite me being 18 years old all the way until I graduate college, and if I attempt to do so, everything is going to be taken away from me, even my own family members. It is a normal life milestone for a young adult to move out into a dorm, but she sees this as a threat and a way for me to rebel against her and become out of her control. So I honestly feel very stuck and I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, the way your mom is talking to you and the way she's treating you is completely inappropriate. Like, this is beyond her just being nasty or mean. This is really manipulative behavior. She's basically giving you an ultimatum. You have to live with her until you graduate from college, or else she's gonna ruin your life, basically. And honestly, that is like insane to me. Like, I can't imagine someone acting like this and really expecting me to want to go along with it. It also seems like she's really trying to cover all her bases and really make it so that you stick around out of fear instead of logic. Because in my opinion, you have it 100% correct. You are 18 years old, and if you wanted to move out, you really could if you wanted to. I almost wonder if maybe there's some kind of like counselor you can talk to at your school, or someone who could help you in this situation that can kind of give you guidance or some kind of direction on what to do. Because regardless of what you do choose to do, I think the biggest thing you need to realize is that your mom is incredibly toxic. And I know if I was in your shoes, there is no way I would ever want to live with her. My mother-in-law walks into my house anytime she wants, barging right in through our garage since she has a code to our garage door, and just letting herself into our house whenever she wants. And after dealing with this for so long, I finally hit my breaking point and told my husband that I don't want her coming into our house whenever she wants. Because right now I am super annoyed by this behavior, and I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I want to preface this by saying that I have a great relationship with my mother-in-law as well as my husband. I'm a non-confrontational person, and I tend to let a lot of stuff slide, but I put my foot down on this, and I need to know if I was being a jerk. So my husband immigrated here as a young boy with his parents. His only only real family that he knows is his parents and sibling. I was born into a large extended family who have always been close, but it's not in our nature to just stroll into another person's house. When we see each other, it's because we made plans to do so, and that's honestly what I'm used to. After my second child was born, my mother-in-law started taking some liberties after we gave her our garage code while she was watching our older child while I was giving birth. It started with me ignoring a knock at the door during my first hours home after a 5-day hospital stay after giving birth, because I was trying to concentrate on breastfeeding and I wasn't expecting anybody to come by our house. Well, then I hear my garage door open and my mother-in-law comes in and just sits on the couch and starts visiting. Now, I didn't like that, so I expressed that to my husband and he seemed to get it. Then she did the same thing. She came over unannounced and let herself in while I was having a tender moment with my older child decorating the Christmas tree. She sat down and started bossing them around about where to put ornaments, and I got so frustrated, I just put an end to the decorating and made it so awkward that she finally left. Well, after this, my husband was mad that I was mad. He said to me, "I'm just glad she at least wants to see me." Now, for reference, I have a strained relationship with my mom, so this honestly was a low blow in my opinion. Now, I love my mother-in-law and I'm very close with her, but I really feel like this is just crossing a line, and I am not okay with it. I think my husband should respectfully have my back. I know a lot of cultures are used to multi-generational living or even just close family, where this type of thing is just normal and it's not seen as unusual. And maybe for some it is normal, but it makes me so uncomfortable and I hate it. I don't want it to cause a strain or disrespect for my mother-in-law or my husband, or discount their unique relationship in being such a tight family due to the rest of their kin being in another country. And I also don't want to be a jerk. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think you have every right to expect some kind of notice before someone barges into your house. Like, you guys have basically given her a key to your house and she now just comes and goes as she pleases. And that, in my opinion, is not the sign of a good guest. She is not being respectful of your space or your time, and if anything, she is literally just being a nuisance. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. Like, I love my family, but if they barged into my house anytime they wanted, or if they came into my house all because I wasn't answering the door, that would seriously be such a breach of trust and privacy, it's just not even funny. And I totally understand where the original poster is coming from, where they basically make the conclusion that this really is some kind of cultural difference between her and her husband. But even with that in mind, I don't think it would be unreasonable for your husband to see where you're coming from with this and tell his mom not to show up unannounced whenever she wants. Like, she really does need to come through the front door just like everybody else. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think what you're asking of your husband and your mother-in-law is completely reasonable, and I do think this is something they absolutely could accommodate. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for being so done with a family drama going on in my extended family? Because right now, my brother and sister-in-law are being super annoying, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband has multiple siblings between the ages of 8 and 27. The only one that matters here is the oldest brother, who's 27, and his wife, who's 24. They have always seemed a little more concerned with themselves and getting what they want. But what has happened recently has been quite the surprise. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are very genuine and caring people to a fault. Also, for context, I am 16 weeks pregnant and the only other person that is married into the family. 2 months ago, my father-in-law proposed an idea where we work together on a project and use the funds we make to pay for a family cruise, and everyone happily agreed to work. When we started planning, my brother-in-law and his wife were trying their hardest to not go on a cruise. I'm honestly not sure why, as their reasonings were inconsistent and don't make any sense to me, my husband, or his parents. So then, without being asked, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law proposed 4 other ideas of places to go in an elaborate PowerPoint with highlights of activities in the areas. But the problem is that I couldn't participate in 90% of the activities while pregnant. They included things like roller coasters, long hikes, and surfboarding, not to mention the proposed plan to go skiing and ice skating, which I could not participate in at all. They acknowledged that I wouldn't be able to do almost anything on the other trips in a text, but they literally did not care. After all of that, my father-in-law said he still chose the cruise for many reasons, including that he knew my mother-in-law would be guilted and made to babysit my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's 2 younger kids while they went and had fun on their own. More recently, my brother and sister-in-law have said they point blank will not go on a cruise, even though they had been begrudgingly planning on it after their ideas were turned down. They also have threatened my father-in-law to just take their portion of the money from our work and go on their own vacation. When my father-in-law said they could go ahead and do that, my brother-in-law backtracked and said he didn't want to actually do that now. But he also reiterated that he did not want to and was not going on the cruise. So now my mother-in-law and father-in-law are trying to bend over backward to accommodate their selfishness and are trying to plan a second vacation that my father-in-law would fully fund. The second vacation would be at a resort with a lake because my sister-in-law likes lakes, and my husband and I would not be going since I would be 32 weeks pregnant by then. I'm incredibly frustrated by all of this. I'm especially frustrated by my brother and sister-in-law being so selfish and so entitled, especially when they feel the need to bully my mother and father-in-law into doing something that they really don't want to do. My husband understands my frustration, but is trying to be more impartial and help his parents work things out. I really don't think I'm in the wrong here for feeling infuriated, but all of my in-laws' reactions are causing me to question myself. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about this brother and sister-in-law, to be completely honest with you. They clearly just want to cause problems, and honestly, that is not your concern in the slightest. And it almost seemed like they were picking out vacation ideas that you intentionally couldn't participate in. Because they know you're pregnant, but they still tried to pick these vacation activities, knowing that you could not participate in them. So honestly, I would not worry about them in the slightest, and I think the biggest silver lining here is that they are not going to be going on this cruise. So that is at least something that you get to look forward to. Am I the jerk for banning my girlfriend from using glass cups in my house, as she breaks them way too often, and I find myself stepping in broken glass all the time? Because right now she is very angry at me, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my girlfriend has a problem with glass. She is clumsy and always has been, and has broken many other things before now. And I would not mind this, but she is also awful at cleaning the shards up. This past week alone, she has dropped 3 glasses, 1 jar, 2 bowls, and a coffee cup. And she busted a plate by leaving it on the stovetop while the oven was preheating. And this is despite the fact of being warned many times before that items should not be on the burners when the oven is heating because the conduction carries through. She has been stressed out at work, so I kind of attribute a lot of it to that. I can't even really say which glass objects have injured me specifically each time. It's just that I've been limping for a week because I stepped on a big shard of glass that went into my foot, and some other smaller ones that went into my foot as well. Plus, some of them went in my palms because I missed them as I kneeled down to pull the ones that were in my foot. I have stepped on or pressed my hand into glass 4 times this week. Tonight when she asked for a soda, I poured it into a plastic cup instead of a glass one like she prefers, and said that she couldn't use my glasses. And when I said that, she threw a fit. I literally just can't phrase it any differently. She progressively got angrier at me for bringing up the other broken glasses because they were just accidents, and that I should not punish her, especially because I started mentioning others before this week. But even so, I am sick of going through gauze and tape. She insists that I'm making mountains out of molehills, and I should clean it up myself to my specifications because she does her best. So I really need to know, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? You are definitely not the jerk, and I don't blame you for not letting your girlfriend use any glass cups in your house. If she's seriously saying, oh my gosh, I can't help that I'm breaking glasses, you should clean it up yourself if it's not good enough. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're breaking glass and leaving it on the floor. No one should be expected to walk through glass just because you want to be lazy. Like, that is seriously insane. There's no good excuse for that. So no, of course the original poster is not a jerk. The girlfriend in this scenario is being very selfish and entitled, and I don't blame you for banning her from using glass cups. My husband is a doctor and refused to let me go to the hospital when I was in intense pain, but I'm thankfully glad that we did go to the hospital because I eventually found out that my appendix had ruptured, and I'm now sitting here confused, wondering why my husband was so against me going to the ER. Here's what happened. So me and my husband have been married for 2 years, and he's always been a very good husband, and we've had a great marriage. About 3 weeks ago, I've been having off and on pain in my stomach. I thought it was cramps, and my husband said I'd be fine. I wasn't really worried until it started to get worse over the course of that week, all the way up until it was excruciating. My husband acted more annoyed than concerned. Even when my temperature was 103, he kept telling me to take some pain medications and take a shower. And when I said that I think I needed to go to the ER, he told me no, that wasn't necessary. Even when I cried in pain, he didn't comfort me at all. He also genuinely rolled his eyes at one point. And as a side note, I'm not dramatic about pain at all. I'm rarely sick, so this really wasn't a normal thing. Well, in the middle of the night, the pain suddenly stopped hurting, and that was concerning to him. In the morning, he tossed a bottle of water at me and told me that I looked better. I told him it stopped hurting. He then took me to the emergency room, and I guess that's what happens when your appendix ruptures. Anyway, so I had surgery and a bad infection. I was in the hospital for like a week and a half, I think, and while I was there, my husband was very kind and attentive. But ever since I've been home, he's been back to insinuating that I'm being dramatic. I'm genuinely so confused as to why he's acting like this. When I ask him about it, he insists that he's not acting that way, though he very clearly is. He genuinely asked me yesterday if I was going to cook dinner, and I'm like, why is he like this? He's never been this type of person before. I mean, is it because he's a doctor? I honestly don't know, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, your husband sucks like a lot. Why on earth would he be like, no, you're not gonna go to the hospital, but only once you show like this very crucial symptom is he like, oh wait, no, let's seriously go to the hospital. Like, that's really disturbing behavior, and I would be super upset if I was in your shoes. This guy almost cost you your life, and this is all because what? He didn't want you to go to the emergency room? I'm a firm believer that if you really are in that kind of pain and you've got this weird temperature and pain going on in your body, then absolutely go to the emergency room and get this figured out. So yes, your husband is a massive jerk for not letting you go, because that seriously could have been fatal. My son is furious with me, as he is blaming me for his girlfriend breaking up with him after I had a talk with her and told her to consider her options moving forward, which eventually led to her breaking up with my son. Because right now, my son is incredibly angry, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my son has been in a relationship with his girlfriend for about 3 years now. I love my son, and I hate to say this, but he's not turned out to be a good person. He has very little work ethic, has no desire to get a job or to go to college, and spends most of his time gaming or partying. His girlfriend, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. She's very studious, has aspirations to be a doctor, and is a very good swimmer, and is currently away at college. When my son and his girlfriend first got together in high school, they were an excellent match. We loved having her over, and my son definitely took more care of himself. Since then, though, he has rapidly deteriorated. I know my son still loves his girlfriend, but he never gives her the attention that she deserves. And with her clear potential, I just feel that she deserves better. When she came to visit a few days ago, she was visibly upset. When my son went to the store, I asked her if she was okay, and she told me that she didn't know what to do and wondered why my son had such little ambition and was so lazy. Well, I told her that I didn't see it changing anytime soon, and that's honestly been my view, given that it's been ongoing for almost 2 years. When she asked what I would do in her situation, I told her to put herself first and what she wanted. She thanked me and said that she'd think things over. Well, earlier today, my son comes downstairs in a rage, telling me that his girlfriend had broken up with him via text message. I asked him what she said, and apparently the message referred to discussions she had with me and how they made her rethink the whole relationship. My son was livid that I had gotten involved and said that I overstepped my boundaries, but I told him that I didn't advise her to leave him. I just said that she had to make her own choices and decide what was best for her. My son is now not talking to me, and my husband is annoyed, believing that my son not having his girlfriend will only make his rut last even longer. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I think you're 100% right. You didn't tell her to end the relationship. You just told her to think about her choices and figure out what she wants to do. Because here's the thing, if she wanted this relationship to work, she would have stuck around with your son and tried to make things work for the better. But she clearly saw that this was a losing fight, so she decided to cut her losses and find somebody else. And you know what? In my opinion, your son has no one else to blame except for himself. If he was actually making strides in his life and his future career, then she might have stuck around and given him a chance. But instead, he's been super lazy and not done anything to improve his life, choosing to play video games and partying instead of going to college or getting a job. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. Your son is reaping exactly what he sowed, and in my opinion, I don't blame the girlfriend for breaking up with him in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to put my name down on a lease agreement that my mother is trying to push on me? Because after her history of having bad debt, I'm suspicious that she will ever make any kind of payments on the house she is trying to rent. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my mother has always been the extremely controlling type, so much so that my very first whiff of alcohol was at 19, and most of my friends started at 16. And I've also never had a sleepover with any of my female friends, nor any of my family members either. Now, without dabbling into too much details, and I don't want to be too biased on this, my mom has always had control over my life. life. After having had to drop out of university due to financial constraints, which had to do with me being kicked out because the free payer stopped paying, I decided to take a couple of customer service jobs. They were extremely low paying, they had terrible hours, and I was easily pulling a 15-hour shift at least twice a week. Well, recently I got a new job. The pay is good, the work is great, but it is very consuming. And trust me, you earn every cent that you make. Since getting this new job, I have made it my mission to get myself everything I've been begging for the last few years. I needed a new phone because my iPhone 7 was absolutely shattered, so I took out a finance plan for it. I also had to get a new laptop for work, so I financed that as well. And earlier this week, I picked up my new car. I was the only one of my siblings who was not bought a first car from my parents. Obviously, the amount of changes happening in my life made it seem as though I had a salary jackpot, but I do not. Instead, I'm just very good at saving. Well, my mother has obviously seen this. I do still live with her in a rental house, along with my unemployed dad, my unemployed brother, and his 2 kids. Our lease is up at the end of February, and so my parents have been viewing houses. My mother is blacklisted with the credit bureau right now, and as a side note, she was able to pay all of her debts in 2020 after selling my childhood home. So all of her debt right now is very new. She has skipped her car payments, skipped her loan payments, and pretty much anything else. And my mother has a very good job and definitely can afford these things. But her lifestyle is entirely too inflated. She spends way too much money on entertainment and entertaining. Due to the blacklisting, the landlords of the properties that she wants are not open to offering her a rental. Once again, it's because of the inflated lifestyle, and she only wants the best of the best looking houses. She has asked me to put my name and info down on her lease, claiming that she will cover the payments. When I asked what it would do to my credit score, she snapped at me and started shouting about why I don't need a good credit score because I've already got the things I need on my credit. Now, obviously, my mom is a terrible payer. That would reflect on my credit score, and at 21, I'm preparing myself to move out into my own apartment in the near future. My mother is not seeing it this way and has decided to give me the cold shoulder. If I greet her at any point during the day, she looks at me very blankly and continues what she was doing wordlessly. So honestly, am I the jerk for not putting my name down on the lease? What should I do? Yeah, I'm really gonna keep it 100% and say that your mom does not sound like a good person at all. It really seems like your mom is trying to use you in some kind of way. She's trying to put your name down on the lease so she won't get in trouble for getting in more debt. Basically using your good name and credit as a smokescreen so that she can get this expensive house and then not make payments on it. And you know what? I can guarantee you if you do put your name on that lease, you will 100% be responsible for all of the payments because your mom 100% would ruin your life if given the chance. So no, of course you're not the jerk for not wanting to put your name on the lease. Your mom is clearly irresponsible, and I would not trust her for a second when she says she's going to cover the payments. It's also really funny to me that she snapped at you and almost like freaked out when you said, wait a second, what's that going to do to me? Because that's basically her showing her hand that she is not going to pay on time, that she's using you so she can get a better house, and that she's going to throw you completely under the bus as a result of her not making her payments. You can also see the blatant manipulation tactics where she's giving you the cold shoulder all because you don't want to do this. And honestly, it is not your fault that she has terrible credit. She's clearly trying to maintain a lifestyle that she cannot support. And so she's now turning to you to try and maintain that in some kind of way. And that's really not fair of you because you said it yourself. You don't make a ton of money, you're just good at saving your money. Which in my opinion, especially considering who you live with, that's probably a good idea. So no, of course you're not the jerk for not putting your name on that lease. And in my opinion, it would serve you better to move out of there and find your own place to live. Because your mom is very clearly trying to use you, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. My entitled dad and his stepwife are demanding that I give up some of my inheritance of almost $1 million, as they claim it would be selfish of me to keep it all for myself. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm a 17-year-old male, and I will be coming into a large amount of money when I turn 18. This is money that my mom, who died when I was 7, and my maternal grandparents accumulated for me since I was born. I won't say the exact amount, but it's between $500,000 and $1 million. The reason it's that much is my grandparents ran a successful business for many years, and they sold it 18 months ago, and all money from that sale went to me. They literally kept none of it. My grandparents have control over all of it currently. Before my mom passed away, she left them in charge of the account where she was saving. She was married to my dad at the time, but had wanted to secure my future in case anything happened, like my dad getting married again and having some additional kids. She did not want to run the risk that once she was gone, her money could be used for someone who wasn't her kid. My dad knew some money had been saved for me by mom, but was never aware of how much or how little it was. He also had no idea my grandparents continued saving for me. Well, my grandparents told me about the money over a year ago. They wanted me to prepare for my future and to know that I would have so many options because of the money available to me. They also mentioned that this would never bring back my mom, but it could alleviate the burden of becoming an adult. So with that bit of context out of the way, here's where the real problem comes into play. My dad did end up getting remarried, and he has a stepdaughter and a son with his current wife. The stepdaughter's 16 and the son is 5 years old. They are not wealthy, and my dad's wife has prepared her daughter to try and work hard for scholarships, as well as financial aid to get into college, because she wants to study to become a lawyer. My dad had similar conversations with me, and had sat me down a few times since I learned of the money's existence to figure out what our plans would be. Eventually, I told him it wasn't going to be a big concern, and I told him about the money. He was absolutely blown away when I said that. And then he turned around and told his wife, and they were both completely stunned. They then got together and told me that I could be gracious and split the money when I get it between the three of us and give the other two a chance to have a decent helping hand with college. I told them I would not be sharing it because it was created by my family, not theirs. My dad's wife argued that it would be incredibly selfish to take such a large amount of money and blow it all on myself when I have two siblings who would also benefit in a major way from it. My dad told me that even giving some of it to them, not even a full split, but some of the money, even just some that I had left over, would be really amazing and it would help my family out a lot. But I still told him that I wasn't going to do that. Well, as a result, they are so not happy with me. They told me that being selfish with this is not a good way to be. My dad is also angry that he continued saving for me and dividing things equally between the three of us when there is so much I will have access to in just a few months. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, before I even get into this, let this be a very valuable lesson to anybody listening. If you win the lottery or you're about to get a lot of money from some kind of like inheritance or something like that, your best course of action, in my opinion, is to just keep your mouth shut and not tell anybody. You literally gain nothing by spilling the beans, and it will literally only cause problems in your life. And this story is a fantastic example about that. If the original poster just kept their mouth shut and chose not to discuss that aspect of their life, they could probably still live a normal life and get away with it in some kind of way. So, for the record, of course you're not the jerk, and these people trying to guilt trip you into giving away your money is insane to me. They're only calling you selfish because you're getting the money, not because you already knew you were going to use it for yourself. Like, that idea is completely misguided, and I can see these people hounding you about this pretty much for the rest of your life. So no, you are definitely not the jerk for keeping this money for yourself, and the fact that your dad and his wife are trying to guilt trip you into handing over some of that money, in my opinion, is incredibly toxic. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled neighbor tries to buy property off my mom for $1, and when my mom refuses to do so, they try to make her life a living nightmare, and I've honestly never been more blown away by someone's entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, so this story is basically a combo of entitlement and general terribleness. My 74-year-old mom's neighbor, a mid-60s male, decided he needed a bigger driveway so it could fit 4 cars, including the ones belonging to his 2 children who no longer live there. My mom somewhat reluctantly agreed under the condition that she pay for everything built over the property line and maintained the right to remove or build on top of the unreasonably large driveway. Well, a few years went by and the neighbor wanted to sell the house and asked my mom to sell him the part of the property he built on for $1. And trust me, when she said no, everything became a living nightmare. He then started showing up at her house with a video camera, screaming at her for being a cruel woman who didn't want him to see his kids. But here's the thing, there is a permit street parking, and all residents on the block have 2 parking passes, and you can request up to 6 temporary guest parking passes. Eventually, she decided to have a surveyor come to determine the property line and then build a fence to keep him and his family away from her. When workers started started pulling up the part of the driveway on her side of the property line, it got even more aggressive and ridiculous. His wife even showed up crying over how they can't live without the extra driveway space. They then started strategically parking their cars to make it as difficult as possible for the workers. They threatened to report the workers to ICE, despite having no knowledge of the immigration status of the workers. In response to all of this, they rather hilariously pulled up everything around and under the son's car, so only the tires were still on the driveway. Then, the son showed up at the door and told my mom that he just made his first $1 million and that he's going to buy the house and make her life miserable. In fact, one day I was in the backyard and the guy leaned over the fence and swore at me. When I turned around, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were your mother." Well, as karma would have it, they eventually sold the house for nearly $500,000 under their asking price. And I can definitely say that the new neighbors are absolutely lovely. Wow, how entitled and weird can you possibly get? Like, that guy seriously tried to buy that property back for what, $1? That's not only insulting, but also insane. And it really seems like they almost expected the mom in this story to just give it over. So with all things considered, I'm just really glad that those neighbors moved out and that they were not able to sell it for the price they were looking for, because their attitude and demeanor was completely inappropriate. And I know if I was in your mom's shoes, I would be very upset and annoyed by them as well. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my brother any further after he ended up in jail because of his excess drinking? Because right now his mother is calling me a jerk, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my half-brother has a long history of drinking in excess. He got his act together for a while after his daughter was born, but after he broke up with her mother, his drinking became more out of control than ever. He lost his job, his license, he lost custody, and eventually his home. I tried to help him by getting him health insurance and bringing him to a detox center. When he left detox, I helped him with his supervised visitations with his daughter and gave him a list of all kinds of resources to help him maintain his sobriety. But unfortunately, he did not take advantage of any of them, and he lost his visitation privileges shortly thereafter. I then got him into a 90-day rehab facility, and I told him that was the last time I was going to help him. He did still have his resources for when he got out. Well, apparently, he checked himself out after less than 30 days and promptly showed up at his child's mother's house and demanded to see his daughter. When she refused, he decided to drink 1/5 of a bottle of vodka and drive with no license, no insurance, with an expired inspection sticker, and then attempted to resist arrest when he was, of course, pulled over. He called me from jail the other day and asked me to bail him out. He wanted me to let him stay with me and help him get visitation with his daughter again at my house. But I told him I'm not doing any of the above and to not call me again until he starts doing right by himself and his daughter. My husband supports me 100% and says that if I did help him, I would just be enabling him. But my half-brother's mother called me sobbing and said that it's not being able to see his daughter that is causing him to make such poor life choices and begged me to reconsider. I told her that I'm sorry, but I don't see it that way. He lost the right to see his daughter because he was already making poor life choices. Well, she said that she never knew me to be so heartless, and then she hung up on me on the spot. So honestly, am I the jerk in this scenario? What should I do? No, the original poster is definitely not the jerk. You did literally everything you could do to try and help this guy out. You brought him to detox centers, you gave him a list of resources, you even organized his visitations with his daughter. Like, seriously, you were going way above and beyond to help this guy out. So I don't blame you for saying sorry, but I'm not helping you any further. Because in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would do the exact same thing. I would explain to him that I can't help him any further and that he needs to get his life in order. It's also really ridiculous that the mom is calling up and acting like this when she easily could step up to the plate and also help her son out. Like, it really seems like she's pointing the finger at you and being like, wow, why would you not help him out? But it's like, lady, what are you doing to help him out? Why am I the only person in the family that can help him get his life together? Because you've definitely put your time in. You've done everything within reason to try and help this guy out. So for the mom to call you heartless is just so disgusting in my opinion. Because out of anyone, clearly you're the only one that cared. And if this mom really wants her son to have some kind of better future, then maybe it's time for her to take over and try to help out instead. Am I the jerk for refusing to eat a vegan meal at a movie night that historically has been a wings and pizza night? Because right now, my friend is incredibly upset. And at this point, me and my friends seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So me and my group of friends have the tradition of having movie nights every Friday and Saturday. Usually, the same two people host due to availability and space in their home, as well as their roommate situations, and we'll either all contribute with snacks, or the host will provide food and drinks, and we'll all chip in or just order food in whatever app has the lowest delivery fee. Well, one of the guys in the group has been dating this new girl for a couple of weeks, and he wanted to introduce her to the group, and I guess she wanted to make a good impression, so he told us that she wanted to host the movie night that week. We all thought that was super considerate, and we agreed, since she seemed like a really nice girl, and the gesture was really kind. When the day came along, we asked what she wanted to do in terms of food, and she just said that she would provide the food. Obviously, that was fine for us, especially since sometimes we already did that, so we happily agreed. However, when we got there, the food was all vegan and fit type food, which there isn't really anything wrong with that, but it's just not something that we wanted to eat on a Friday movie night. It was a lot of vegan sushi type of stuff, where you would have random stuff rolled up with a cucumber, or fruit on skewers and crackers with dipping sauce. We didn't know that she was vegan at first, but upon looking at the food selection, we figured it out pretty quickly. When she told us the price, we all got a little confused. We thought it was nice of her to want to cook, but it was really just weird that she wanted to force feed us a vegan diet when none of us were vegan, and when she knew that we were more than fine bringing our own stuff. We told her that we appreciated the work that she went through, but that it wasn't something that we enjoyed, and we didn't want to pay for food that we didn't like or didn't even want to eat. Well, our friend is now not talking to us, all because we upset his girlfriend. But not only did we just not want to consume the food, but the bill was also significantly more expensive than we usually have, because it was all bio ingredients that she used, not to mention all of the vegan substitutions that she had as well. Some of my friends straight up didn't like the stuff that was in the vegan sushi. They had an aversion to cucumber and cream cheese, and it was very prevalent in what she made. But I will admit that I was a little bit more petty. I really look forward to the wings and pizza that await me at the end of a long week, and I feel irritated that this was switched out for a meal that I could have gotten at the gym or on a random Tuesday. And I also think it was quite petty for not giving us a heads up about the food. I think we all agreed to politely decline, but invite her to spend the next movie night with us elsewhere. So honestly, am I the jerk for refusing to eat this stuff? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all. For this lady to suddenly change the menu on what is historically a wings and pizza party, in my opinion, is really weird and so misguided, because this friend has been to these parties, right? He knows what everybody likes to eat, and not once has anyone been like, ooh, let's have a vegan meal. And I am right there with the original poster. If I showed up to some kind of party night and I was given a vegan menu, I think I would lose my mind. I would be so frustrated. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. They really should have warned you ahead of time, because this is just super annoying, and nobody deserves to be blindsided in this way. An entitled couple lies repeatedly about their order being wrong and cause a lot of chaos for workers who definitely were doing their job. And I'm honestly just so annoyed by their dishonesty that I really wish I documented my interactions with them a little bit better. Here's what happened. So today we had a couple come in and order food and get some drinks. I first had a ticket come through that they ordered some cocktails, so I get to making it. By the time the drinks were in the shaker, the gentleman comes to the bar and asks to cancel the cocktails. I was almost done making them, but whatever. I voided the items and he orders a bottle for his table instead of the cocktails. I bring the bottles to the table, show him the bottle, ask if he would like to try it first, but they say no, so I leave. And that is honestly perfectly fine. They then order some food. I'm not on food, but I'm watching as the lady tells the server that she ordered something different, which again, there's no issue with that. So new food gets brought out, but she says again that it is the wrong order and said it was something different again. Now I know for a fact this is what she ordered as I heard it. And I say that because I was behind the bar opposite of her table. I heard the whole interaction and I know she kept changing what she wanted. I think 3 or 4 times she sent the meal back. And at this point, the manager is involved, as well as 2 to 3 other staff members. As the server was bringing her meal back to the kitchen, she then has a conversation with another table. I didn't catch the start of the conversation, but I did hear them say that they ordered cocktails too, but they haven't come to their table either. Now, I knew full and well that they had canceled their cocktail order. It also wasn't as if they canceled because it was taking too long, as it was literally around 5 minutes from placing the order that the husband came to the bar and canceled. Now, I obviously can't interject at this point, but she is basically trying to make us look as bad as possible to the other guest, and blatantly lying that none of us know what she wants. She finally gets a meal that she's happy with, and this is after bringing one of the servers to tears. But I hear again that the couple were complaining that they had received wine that they didn't order and were attempting to send it back. Now, Now, I'm not sure if they were successful in doing so, but the bottle was literally half empty. This husband literally came to the bar and ordered the bottle himself. I'm not sure if they weren't happy with the place at this point, and I'm kicking myself for not making him sign for the bottle. At the end of the night, the manager is far from happy and tells us that the couple came to him with many complaints and likely a distasteful review. But my interactions with the couple were very polite and they seemed very happy with their drinks up until the point they started to complain. So I'm not sure what their aim was, but I'm willing to bet they were probably in it for a free meal. Yeah, in my opinion, it kind of seems like this was really on purpose. Like, for starters, they absolutely asked for that bottle and then drank half the bottle and then had the audacity to be like, oh yeah, we didn't want this bottle. We were waiting for our cocktails. Nothing came along. It's also pretty suspect that they sent back the order, 3 to 4 times? Like, that's just really weird, and it's also really rude because the original poster, it sounds like they're on the right track. Like, they had a normal, if not pleasant interaction with this couple. So for them to try and flip the script all of a sudden and be like, wow, nothing is ready for us and nothing that we ordered is coming to our table. I don't know about you, but that really comes off as disingenuous, and it really does seem like they were just trying to work the system. And considering how hard the staff worked to make sure they got everything they wanted, that, in my opinion, is incredibly disappointing. Am I the jerk for putting up a no trespassing sign on my fence after seeing my neighbor's kid on the roof of my shed? Because right now I am seriously very frustrated, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I moved into my neighborhood about 5 years ago, and I'm a single female in my mid to late 20s. Early on, I would hang out with the children on my street and be lenient with them regarding being on my property. A little under 2 years in, I got a puppy that got out quite a few times over the first couple of years of owning her, and my neighbor has been helpful in helping get her and keep her in their house or backyard sometimes if I'm not home. This family has been generous on other occasions, such as having me over for dinner once, shoveling my driveway a couple of times, and assisting with putting a new fence up that benefited them as much as it benefited me. Over the past few years, there have been numerous occasions where their son will either hop the fence to get into my backyard or open the gate and later leave it open because it's too tall for him. My dog got out a few more times because this happened on multiple occasions. I had asked my neighbor's son and the other children on our street if they could please ask for permission before entering my backyard. I had even talked to my neighbor's mother about it a few times, one of which was when she was opening my back gate to let her son in. Her reasoning for this was that because I was not home when her son knocked on my door, she took it upon herself to let him in. After that moment, I bought a no trespassing sign to put on my fence, but ended up not using it. Thankfully, the past few months have been fine, and my neighbor's son and his friends were even coming to my front door to ask if I could get their ball for them, so I figured that we were past this in some kind of way. This morning, I was driving back onto my street, but when I was about to pass my house to get into my driveway, I saw my neighbor's son and a friend on the roof of my shed, which is in my backyard, with my neighbor next door helping them out. I stopped my car right there, and I called out asking what they were doing. The father responded that there was a ball between the fence and my shed, and the only accessible way of getting the ball was by climbing my shed. Now, that's all good and fine, but I asked why he couldn't wait to ask me before doing it, and I literally just didn't get a response. When Timmy and his parents left for the day, I went outside and I put a no trespassing sign on the fence right near my shed, which is right next to their property line. Well, 5 hours later, they arrived home, and I received a text message from the mother outlining how generous they have been and how they have respected my boundaries, so they were really hurt by my sign that I put up. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? You are definitely not the jerk, because your neighbors are 100% out of line. You told them repeatedly, please stay out of my yard. Like, this isn't an isolated incident where this has happened once or twice, but instead this is a consistent thing that keeps happening. Like, these people don't respect your privacy or your property at all. So in my opinion, I think a no trespassing sign isn't nearly enough, because if I was in your shoes, I would be getting locks for my gates as well as cameras for my yard in case they come back for some reason. Because you can bet one day if they're standing on top of the roof of your shed, that kid's gonna fall down and break his arm. And it's gonna be then and only then these parents are gonna have a problem with their kid in your backyard. And it's somehow gonna become your problem instead of theirs. And I personally think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to try and get ahead of that.
When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.